Ghosts and shadows they smirk. Down in the rivers, out in the seas, masters of the deep, dolphin mysteries. Bottlenose freaks, short beaks in the night, humpback shadows, pygmies out of sight. All the dolphins, you know it's true, rolling deep in the ocean blue. Stripes and spots, they rule the tide. Water dogs of the deep, they don't hide. In the river's grip, seas endless bounty, ruling the waves, dolphin Illuminati. Praised by Romans, gods to the Greeks, underwater rulers, the power peaks. In ocean depths, that counts to 6. Dolphins in the dark, never calling it quits. Striped and spotted in the sea's domain. Aquatic dogs in their own insane lane. Through rivers they ride, seas they roam. In the ocean depths, they make their home.
Well, I talk about insanity, which is what's going on in your mind, and outside, which is where you communicate with those outside. As you know, if you give too much of your insanity, they'll lock you up. Well, I tried giving as much as I could. They locked me up. They published it, paid me.
Dolphin, Illuminati, deep, deep, deep in the deep they creep. It's that dolphin, Illuminati. In the rivers and the seas they be a constant mystery. It's that dolphin, Illuminati. It's that dolphin, Illuminati. Deep, deep, deep in the deep they creep. It's that dolphin, Illuminati. In the rivers and the seas they be a constant mystery. It's that dolphin, Illuminati. It's that dolphin, Illuminati.
Can you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguists, good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically, good guys. Conspiracy, sex, cults, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking, good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguists, good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically, good guys. Conspiracy, sex, cults, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking, good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys.
Big up your Friday night and welcome to another episode of Secret Society of Good Guys. As always, we are your good guys, and if there are 49 of you watching, I expect some bells to be hit and some thumbs to be upped. And as the night goes on, I might remind you to do that again. So if you're a person that feels like hanging out with the coolest chat on the interwebs, do go over to Project Chaney on YouTube, and you can hang out with people far smarter and funnier than us. But if you just feel like sitting alone, find us on Rumble and X or the other Secret Society of Good Guys channel on YouTube as well. What up, good guys?
What's up? What's up?
Okay, make sure to hit that like, otherwise you get pop, pop, pop.
You get that. Brat. Sometimes that comes out so smooth. It feels like it's a song in my head and I know all the words. And then other times I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say right now. It's usually like I'll start with the big up and then just run with the rest of the dance.
In New York City, it's a blood thing. Brat, brat, brat. Apparently, it's like a known call.
Bloods.
And then they push you right into the Hudson.
Yeah, something like that. They're like, don't say that outside. You know, when I was a kid in high school, they're like, don't say that. Don't do that. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, because this, and this. I'm like, oh, okay.
It is
Something
kind
to
of
go into.
funny. On the Good Guys last week, we talked about the elite eating mermaids now and how this is
Yeah.
like the new conspiracy that's taken over. And the more I sit on it, the more I'm just excited because I thought my brain seen it all. Like I thought the like realm of conspiracy, the can of worms, I've
Mhm.
seen all the worms. And this one was like a little worm stuck up against the wall inside the can that I'm like, "What? This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen." I'm impressed.
There's one left in here. Oh, cool.
There's an interesting twist on one of the videos that I saw about when they asked ChatGPT about, the elites eating mermaids. She said, well, it's true to a certain extent. It's not physically, but in the way that they try to absorb the energy through the water, since water is a sentient being and it holds memory and energy and frequency and knowing and knowledge and all this other extra stuff. So apparently they do try to loosh these mermaids, and these mermaids are apparently, according to ChatGPT, they're fifth dimensional beings that live in the fifth dimension below, I guess, as above so below. And they are not evil beings, but they're hiding and waiting to come out at the right moment for something about to save humanity, apparently, or to save themselves because they're being hunted, apparently. But I posted the video and it seemed very interesting. I don't think they necessarily eat them, really. Are they real?
Well, you know what struck me, and I was thinking about this all week too. But even growing up, one of those motifs of if you were like a Gordon Gecko, or if you were some rich, like if you had more money than other people did, then one of the things you do is you get a naked lady to serve as a table and you eat sushi off of them, right? But this
Mm.
could just be a mock version of eating a mermaid, right? Because now they're going up and taking little bits of fish parts and eating them like this raw flesh off of this lady. So it almost feels like the mid party, it's the pre party. So that everyone that knows about the after party that was invited to stay over, maybe that's when they roll out the actual delicatessens.
It seems silly when I say this, but my head went in a similar way this week with this mermaid story. Is I thought, do you think there's some kind of mocking of from the elite? Because you know how they always are like, oh, women, oh, that smells fishy. That's a
Mm.
fishy smell. Do you really think there's some kind of mocking of like, oh, she's got mermaid pussy?
Bro,
Well,
it goes so crazy. I don't know if you've ever read any of what is her name? Kathy O'Brien, the one that wrote Transformation America, that claims that she was personally like MK Ultra programmed by all these top level politicians. And one of the claims is that while she was under one of these trances, some high ranking politician doctor carved his own face directly into her clit using a scalpel.
what
So
the fuck?
if you believe that level of mockery and just absolute disgrace, then this doesn't even feel like it's an exit ramp on the way there.
Well, you know
Well,
how there's that whole thing where they draw on rice and then when you're a
Dude,
kid.
that's exactly what it was. It was about showing how masterful he was at this high level craft, yet doing such like a base thing with it, like in a horrible way, and apparently
mm,
in a party where this was the thing you were showing off.
yeah, and apparently in I think it's Japanese culture, in ancient folklore, they say it's mythology, but apparently they talk about this in a story. I think it's something about two mermaids, and how they, in order for them to achieve eternal life, the way to do that is by capturing a mermaid and eating its flesh or its essence. So there's something to immortality when you apparently eat them. I think you could search it like Japanese mermaid folklore, and it brings it up and images of these ancient like parchments, I guess, or whatever they make their scrolls with. But I don't know. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's just a story that people read, like fairy tales to other people. I don't know, but I feel like ideas could become real.
We put it in our favorite search
There you go.
engine, Google.
Google.
This is the
Goggle.
only truth out there. Don't ever go to anywhere but Google. But let's see what it has to say. In Japanese folklore, the ningyo, human fish, is a creature whose flesh is believed to grant immortality or at least an extremely long lifespan, with stories suggesting that eating it leads to everlasting youth and longevity, as seen in the tale of the 800-year-old nun.
Mm-hmm. How wild.
But that would be a whole different look of a mermaid, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like
It's
if you
just a
see,
head.
yeah, you're like, what? This thing doesn't
No
have tits? I'm
boobs.
out.
See, no boobs. You see that?
That's the best part. What are you talking about?
Didn't objectify the fish or the mermaid, the thing, whatever it is.
It makes me think though that it looks it could just be the fish with teeth that Thomas is always talking about.
Oh God, the sheep's head.
Yeah, like I have to put it in.
Oh yeah. Well, imagine that a mermaid was just the naked body of a woman, but then you get this as the head. Like that's the head of the mermaid.
That is so wild. That thing apparently could chop your finger off, can it?
I wouldn't want to try.
I felt so teethy. Like when it left, like my eyeballs only saw its teeth, and then when it came back, I only saw my teeth.
So what do you guys think? Are they real or not, mermaids?
I think
I've
there's
never
so much
seen one.
lore. And then I was thinking this as well, not to make it so weird, but that's what we're here for. We say the water's above and the water's below, and how you're talking about this fifth dimension. Uh, are mermaids in space? Are they in the space waters above? Are mermaids aliens? Are they a type of alien in this like abyss kind of flowy way? Are they something totally different? Are they like something of flesh in this realm that's just hiding from us like a Sasquatch?
Space mermaids are way cooler than sea mermaids.
That's what I'm thinking. Like they're really going up to, they sent all those rockets up to the space station because they're really just battling space mermaids.
Do you know what I just recently discovered? I was for some strange reason, I wanted to find all the like verses about the moon in the Quran, and it talks a lot about all these, the moon, the stars, and all these things that we see above us. It quotes the word swimming above us. They're all swimming above us constantly, over and over and over again throughout all these verses, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, what are you trying to tell us here? And then I went into like the whole, like, how did they describe Earth in the Quran? And it talks about it being spread out like a carpet, or like placed like a stamp, like a stamp seal. So many. It was wild to me. I went through like my own fucking rabbit hole, and like that realm of swimming stars and moon and sun, and all of them are swimming above us.
Did you guys get a chance to go outside and look at the lunar eclipse in the middle of the night?
Yes.
The what?
was
No,
beautiful.
I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah, the blood
It
moon.
happened at like 2:50 in the morning, I think. 2:55 was the peak, but for the hour
was
before and
1:50.
after, it was pretty wild looking. And people had some interesting pictures
It was so beautiful.
of it. Yeah, I thought it was really cool too. But I will tell you, I was fucked up the day before. Like I felt like I had a migraine, like I always get a migraine at the full moon, but I felt like this one was worse. Like worse
A
than
lot of
normal.
people were feeling it, honestly, and the body aches too.
Well, I
Headaches
was
and body aches.
wondering because Summer always talks about like they only cut bamboo during a new moon because there's like a bunch of parasites or worms or something that crawl through the bamboo at the full moon and they come out in the light, and so it makes the, like, I don't know, she'd explain it better, but it makes it like porous or something. And then I want to find it in the chat, somebody else was saying I have worms, and then it was a worm moon. So I was like, oh, and then it's a dragon year, which dragon is another word for worm. Like, so it's like we're in the wood dragon, and then we had this worm moon. It just is like.
This
Dude,
would
you know what I
also be
did?
when they would harvest the ink. This is when like the Phoenicians and the Minoans would get that dark purple, reddish, bluish ink that they would sell to the rest of the world, was during these specific times too.
Do you know what I did, guys? I did my own little ritual. I took my parasite pills, I put them in clear containers, and I put them out in the moon. I got a blood orange, I got milk and honey, and I left those out in the moon. And I just sat in front of the moon. I was talking to God, and I was like, God, please heal my gut. Put that blood moon healing energy, because like a detox moon, something like for like getting rid of like things that do not serve you type of moon. Yeah, I'm crazy, guys. I did it. Okay, so I sat there for like half an hour, let them take that in. So then I drank the milk, the honey, and then took my parasite pills. And yeah, that
None
was
of that's
my
in my
little ritual.
Bible.
I know it's not in my Quran either,
Oh
but
yeah, thank you. Dragon last year, snake now. I forgot we're
I
in the
did
whole
it.
new year of the snake.
I don't know what else to do. Doctors don't want to help,
Wormy.
so I'm doing what I can in my own, like in what's the word I'm looking for? What I'm trying to project into the world for me, you know? What's the word?
It's a
Manifest. There you
sympathetic
go.
magic, right?
This is everybody. I feel like everybody had this moon a day off.
No, I was waiting. I was so tired though, but I was waiting. I was
Like
like,
a
I
whole
can't.
bunch of witches were just outside and like no animals were dying and washing up on the beach. Like, what is up today?
I
Oh,
was
it's
gonna
not the
put
full moon till
candles,
tomorrow.
but I didn't want people to think I'm witchy, and I didn't want my brother to like come and see me and then like start fucking ruin my moment. So I just I just sat there in my space, you know, by the grass near my house, and it
You
was
were
nice.
scared to go full witchy.
I was
The full moon does do
not
it. It's
scared.
like you're already half guilty if the moon's there.
I didn't want to interrupt my sesh because I knew that would interrupt my sesh. Like, oh, candles, look at this fucking witch. Like, what are you doing, you fucking
What
witch?
does full witch look like? Like
Me.
how did you hold back?
Wait, what?
Like if you only go half witch, what would full witch look like? Like balls to the
Well,
wall
does
witch.
a candle or not having a candle make you
Yeah, like
witchy
would
or
you
not
put on a
witchy?
pointy hat?
I got
Yeah,
my blood
that's
orange. That's
what
what
I'm
mattered to
asking.
me. You know, represent the moon, soak up that intuition and manifestation, and then hopefully it works. If it
Intuition.
doesn't, I've told God it's all up to you. I'm not doing this with the moon. I need the energy that you give to the moon for this, but I probably don't need that either. But like, I did what I could, you know.
That's
Better to
actually a
try
whole
than not
extra level,
try,
though.
huh?
Just believing that those machinations are at work and that you can have dialogue, because there's a lot of people that just wake up and move on to the next thing and don't even
Mm,
think in those different like layers.
yeah, yeah. I got,
And this is
I got faith.
the other weird thing though is don't be one of those people where they're like, this is what I always think, and I know a couple of people like this in life, where they're like in a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean and they're like, dear God, please send me help. Please come help me. And then a boat comes by and they're like, all right, get on the boat. And they're like, no, no, go ahead. I'm waiting for God to help me.
No, 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 no.
That is like such a real life thing where it's like you get all these other signs, but you're just looking for a miracle because you're like, well, I didn't know the help meant maybe there was a scalpel involved.
Well, sometimes belief really works, man. There's some kind of power to it, like that, like full faith that it's gonna fucking boom, and you know it. It's, you know, it's
Yeah.
powerful.
And I
So
think sometimes just your intuition of knowing, like, I know my body. I know when
yeah,
shit's fucked up.
it's gonna go through it. Let it go through it. However long it needs to go through it. My body's a miracle. Like it can do things that are incredible. And the more and more I'm researching and learning, like what they term these things that happen in our body as something awful and want to do these things because XYZ. And I'm like, but this is why the thing is happening, but you're not healing the thing. You're just like, it's like, you know, you're just doing the easy things and there's other ways to do it. And I'm like, I don't want these fucking people to cut me. I don't want them to cut into me. I don't like, they gave me fucking antibiotics. And I think that's what fucking killed my gut. Whatever they injected into my fucking antibiotics when I knocked the fuck out that one time that I went to the hospital for no reason.
Well, what they're great at doing is categorizing stuff. But when it comes to like, okay, I got the things that you've categorized, Carl Linnaeus, but what do we do about it? That's usually when they almost ask you, like, I don't know, have you seen good commercials lately? Are there any drugs that you think we could take together that could fix this? Like that's kind of where the angle goes, right? I think that it's mostly focused on, and the same thing in the DSM, the whole list of different mental issues. All those are labels for observations and patterns someone's found, but there's no mention of cure or treatment or diagnosis in that entire thing. And I think that that's just because we're still obsessed with just figuring out a name to call the thing that you have. And once someone declares the name, that we almost act as if they found the cure for it, which they
Yeah.
haven't even started that part.
So weird.
Well, it's almost like the breakdown of all of our bodies is a little different from the slow poisoning that we all live in. And so then they have to make an excuse of what the slow breakdown of your body is because of the slow poisoning. So they're like, what are we going to call this one? And so anything that has to do with your eye, they call ocular, and anything that has to do with your liver, they call hepatic, and anything that has to do with your, like, everything has just a name they put in front of it. And then they add all these other spell words to it that you're like, what did I do to myself? I should have some kind of shame for this thing I did to myself. But really, you didn't do anything, because if you, whatever your smoking habits, drinking habits, eating habits, sexual habits, whatever your crazy habits are, if you did them the exact same way 100 years ago, you'd be fine. So it's just like, even if you were eating Twinkies for breakfast 50 years ago, you didn't wake up Lizzo tomorrow. And so I feel like there's just something different that's being done to everything at a molecular level that's changing us at a molecular level.
It's the heavy metals, obviously, and the parasitic issue that they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it at all. Like, at all. These fucking doctors do not want to talk about it. They don't
Because
even
all
want
the
to test for
parasite
it.
cleanses are cheap.
And yeah, that too.
And
But
like a lot of them aren't pharmaceutical owned. Like they don't want to talk about it because they don't want you to heal ever. They want you to be a permanent patient.
do you know what I found out about ivermectin, the one that they're selling?
The apple flavored kind?
Yeah, but it is made by the same company. Who? Hold on. What company was it?
Merck.
Okay, the same company that pushed for the COVID vaccines. Okay, those people.
All
I
of them.
forgot the name of it. I have
Wasn't
to
it
find
all
the
of
name of
them?
it.
Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson
Yeah,
Johnson.
I forgot which one, but they make the fucking ivermectin pill, and apparently they're not as good for people as people think they are.
It's not as good as the HCQ that was originally said, and the HCQ is since cheap. It's just since. That's why they killed Barry and Honey Sherman and murdered them, because they wanted to give it away for free to cure
Not
malaria.
ivermectin.
Yeah, it's
Ivermectin's
not. But
not
Joe
it.
Rogan, that's where everybody always, they believe Joe Rogan. Anything Joe Rogan says, it's like Bible. They're like the Kardashians, where it's like, you did not really have that happen. I
I
did
was
too,
on the hunt for
Bible.
it. And I was like, wait a minute, let me just figure something out here. And then I'm seeing posts about like people talking about how ivermectin has these chemicals that are really harmful and can damage your fucking liver. And yes, your liver can regenerate itself, but
Oh
like
my
you need to like
gosh. Here's
do
another
things
one
to
I
help
heard.
it.
I
But
heard that, like, this is chefs, anyone who cooks knows this. You know this. You fucking cook. Animal fats cook at higher temperatures. We always known this about seed oils and everywhere else, and taste of things and blah blah blah. So now there's like every other thing is tallow. Like tallow's the new Nephila. Nephilim. It's like how we said everyone's going to start saying Nephilim watch. And then they did. Tallow is like everywhere. And so then I think it's Dr. Jan, but I'm not sure. I think it's Dr. Jan. It might not be. But somebody was saying that Americans with the jibby jabby, our bodies don't process animal fats well anymore. So like real butter, real tallow, real stuff. So there's going to be this whole push for it, when in reality, nobody that has this stuff, their bodies can't process the animal fat. So it's going to make their gallbladder shut down. It's going to make them have tons of kidney stones. It's going to make them have, it's like they give the thing back after we no longer know what to do with it. So it's like good for all the people that stayed organic, but all the people that are like, oh, I'm gonna hop on the tallow trend with my second jibby jabby, they're just gonna have like gallbladder issues quick.
I mean, in the utopia way, I'm talking about the TV show. There's also another version of this where maybe the heavy metals and the microplastics and the jib jabs and all of this is kind of the next level of eugenics, where they just put it out everywhere and say, okay, well, if you survive this next round, then I guess you're worthy to be potentially my great grandchildren's genetic donors, right? So and they almost see that this is going to be the new environment at a certain point in the future. You're going to have people, they're going to have to be able to jump between seed and animal and deal with the microplastics and deal with all the other new environmental toxins. And so if you die from it, then so be it, because that's just you getting weeded out from the gene pool.
It just makes it stronger. The superhuman race that's going to Mars.
Well, and also it means that in a sick way, the pharmaceuticals will become more efficient, because anyone that doesn't respond well to the pharmaceuticals will also get weeded out, and those that respond well, they get preserved. So at a certain point, they both serve each other's goals, right? Like if you have a population that's like, wow, now all of a sudden my pharmaceuticals work on 80% of the population instead of 40%, it makes it look like you're the good guy and you're doing something right versus you're just experimenting with people. And if you can just ride it through that wave from 40% to 80%, now all of a sudden the pharmaceutical companies can act like they're doing something good for everybody.
That's kind of with the polio vaccine is essentially what they did. Is it's like they put a whole bunch of polio in people, and then as their vaccine, they started to be like, oh my gosh, look at there's like from the experiment going on, there's less and less polio. Well, you stop doing it. Like they acted like it was their vaccine that did it, but they stopped injecting it. It was like you did it.
Bizarre world.
It is kind of crazy.
What a fuck shit show. Like, wow.
Okay, speaking of, and it's kind of interesting. I'm watching X now and like the soap opera that has become content creators and like niche content creators, and who's going to be like in what category and what the divide's going to be and who's going to be the camp that divides us this week. And if you've been doing this long enough, this just feels like a rinse and repeat of like the last, like 2021. Like the divide is at where people in the same camp essentially are wasting ammo and time and visceral energy being mad at each other. It seems like whatever the psyop war is winning. Like I just am like, they're all just fighting with each other online. Like no one's there. It's very few people that are like, here's this idea. Here's this thing. I have this. I can't believe my politician's doing this. We all need to stand up against this. Instead, it's just like Layla and her idea sucks. Chaney and her idea, her stupid idea. Let me show her last idea from a week ago. She didn't even agree with herself. Like they're just wasting time. It's like micro influencing chatter. And I still can't get past that. How many of these people in these spaces, like, already we know there's bots that are making the posts. How many of the voices are bots? And so I just feel like there could be a good whole part of the population that is like, I'm taking the side of Thomas, and the other part, I'm taking the side of Layla. And I'm like, you guys, they're both bots.
Don't tell them yet. We're supposed to save that.
But that's what I think we're in, is that it's like being like a robotic sheepdog is leading the people around. So weird.
Well, talking about all of this, okay, I just randomly, it popped into my head, go check out the Ingrosso Lockwood website. So I go, and on the bottom, it has a fucking element called thorium. You click it, and it sends you to an Alibaba website, okay, of where to get these thorium machines and generators and blah, blah, blah. But right above it, if you highlight the screen, like right above that, there's a
I'm going to
hidden
try it
link.
again today.
You
We're going to
click
try
that.
sharing it again today. You guys, we always try to share it so Layla can show you, but Ingersoll Lockwood has this weird thing where they just make the screen white when I try. So we're
Well,
going to try.
It talks about the potential of thorium for safer, cleaner, and cheaper energy. Yep, there you go.
Yay. Okay. So we're
Scroll
going to scroll
down.
down to the bottom.
Yeah, you click that thorium. You could zoom in if you want to show people like what it actually is. It says 90 thorium. You click on that and it'll send you to an Alibaba website. And once it does that, it'll show you the different fucking types of machinery you could buy. Did it pop up?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh, we
sorry.
can't see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me go to the next. DDD, replace the screen. So then it clicks this.
Yep, there we go. So it shows you that and where you can buy these machines for these free energy. And then if you want to go back, people can like go onto this website themselves and check this out and do it. And it's fascinating. If you go back, if you highlight the screen, you can find the hidden link. It has 3 dots right above that symbol that you clicked on. You
These
can highlight everything.
things right here.
Yeah, highlight the whole, like, you know where you like copy and paste, but you highlight everything.
Yeah.
Okay, you see the 3
Oh,
dots right
yeah.
on top of it? Yep, click that. And it's going to
Okay.
download a PDF talking about everything. Well,
I'll
you
go to
can't
that
fucking
page. I
see
know. It just takes a
everything
second.
thorium, like everything that you need to know, like a whole fucking PDF. The potential safety, blah, 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 how it works. The NCPA, National Center for Policy Analysis. There you go.
In the 1940s, American nuclear scientists studied the use of thorium as an energy source for nuclear reactors. However, because the United States and Soviet Union were engaged in the Cold War after the Second World War, thorium's advantages were overwhelmed by its inability to produce plutonium, an element used in atomic bombs. Uranium-fueled reactors, by contrast, produce plutonium, thus the nuclear power preferred to develop this type of nuclear reactors. Huh.
Very
Right.
interesting.
I'm going to go back real quick because we talk about it all the time with Ingersoll
I wonder if there's
Lockwood.
a
So you guys
link.
know this is all the stuff. Like, it's not just the normal links that you click. That's why Layla's like, sometimes take it and highlight the whole thing. And then you'll
Yep.
see these other little things like, you know, in it that see like dots here.
And all the way up, there's
And
some
then
dot.
there's dots here. And there's
This is
dots
like
here.
the movie The Net with Sandra Bullock, where you'd have to scroll down, and on the very bottom right of a website, there'd be a little pie symbol, and if you click on the pie symbol, it brings you to this other website. It's
Yep.
sort of what this is.
Yeah. You see the dots right behind, besides the arrows. Those 2 are links. They have a link right under this video. It says go to launch or something like
And
that.
look at you guys. U.S. Space Force is hiring.
Don't do it. Don't. Everyone I know that
You
went
see
to the
the
Space
dots
Force
right
will
by
be
the
arrested.
arrow?
Yeah.
Those 2 are hidden links.
Mink. Here, BDD. Let's see what it is. Let me come down here and show up this.
I don't know what it is.
This one is National Credit Union Administration, inner
Okay,
charter
that's
number.
nothing special.
But it might be because remember how the one time there was all the numbers on that it said you have more than you know, and it had all the numbers with the greater than, less than, when inner charter numbers here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side, there's another link, I believe.
Yeah.
And then under the video, there's a one that says go to launch or something like that. I forgot what that one is about.
Oh, that one brought us to an
that's a
X
video.
post. It says, making sure you can withdraw your money from the bank one satellite at a time.
Guardians explaining
how Space Force controls ATMs, realizing no one would have access to their money without Space Force satellites. Look at her outfit. Look at her head and her outfit. Oh, sorry.
This kind of looks AI, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
And boom. Oh, thank you. You're so very sweet.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even see that.
Palm
Thank
Beach
you.
Mafia.
Oh no, those Canadian dollars, they're supposed to be boycotting us. What are you doing?
Canada.
That might actually be considered terrorism in some parts of Canada.
Mm,
I
very
know,
true.
back in a show like this.
I don't know
There's-
if you have been following any of that or care at all, but it seems like specifically alcohol, there's a huge boycott in Canada against American alcohol, and that certain stores, there's people that are demanding they take it off the shelf, so they're going to boycott those places. It almost feels a little bit like people
Germany?
firebombing Tesla. Well, yeah, I mean, same potato, but the same thing with firebombing Tesla. Maybe the next step is ... or else take that. And doesn't Tesla have like their own tequila? So there is a chance that there's a grocery store in Canada that could get firebombed because they're selling American alcohol in the near future.
It is.
Mm.
I heard, and this could just be all online chatter. I heard like Tennessee whiskey took like the hardest hit in all of it, but I don't know if that's real or not.
It
Yeah, no,
probably
absolutely.
isn't.
I've read that.
Like,
Probably isn't.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's all, whatever.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, wow. At the same time, I'm just like, everyone was just like so in a weird like doom kind of mindset. Like shit is about to go down. We're all everybody's
We're at war
suffering.
right now. We're at war.
Like I'm just like, no, we're fine, y'all. Calm the fuck down. Turn your TVs off. Because I haven't been in touch and I think everything's all right. But a lot of shit has been happening. I have no idea. Sometimes it's better that way. Sometimes all
Sometimes,
right.
I really think this is like, you're learning about, and I'm even going to say, I think we can get away with saying these words now because we're on this timeline.
Uh-oh.
After all of, I know this used to be a word you could not say online, but now we can, all the swattings that are happening. And then I don't know if you've noticed with all the swattings that are happening is afterward, people are getting a pizza delivered to them.
Mm.
And I'm like, is this how we bury Pizzagate before it gets here?
They're going to
Like,
start calling this the new Pizzagate.
yeah, they'll just start calling it Pizzagate. I think it'll bury under this swatting narrative, which I'm going to be honest, you used to not even be allowed to say that word on Twitch. Like
Yeah.
it would get your whole, like if you were just playing video games, hanging out, and I just said that word, it was like saying bomb on an airplane.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird that now it's just like whoop, and this is a thing that is happening. And I do think it should be said with the swatting thing is it is kind of attempted murder. Like the potentials that can go wrong in swatting and that I've seen go wrong where people get killed or animals in the house get killed or shit go down. I just think that is like and
there's almost no incentive for SWAT teams and the FBI to not want to do this though, because now they can get their trigger happy guys to get their rocks off and have an excuse and a scapegoat. So now if something bad does happen, you kind of know that the public sentiment will more than likely be on the person that called it in, like the prank caller versus the SWAT team. The SWAT team's kind of doing their job. They're almost doing their job.
yeah, you're not mad
incredibly
at the SWAT
efficiently.
team.
Every single swatting is almost an advertisement for the FBI. Wow, look how cool this is. Look how badass this is. How entertaining this is.
I want to be like him.
Or does it also set up that thing is like, you guys, this is such a horrible thing. We need to set up, like we do have the capability with the satellites. We just need your okay. Then we can see right into your houses. So we'll know if people are.
Yeah. Well, no, you have to opt in though. And maybe
Yeah.
you get 20% off of your electric, or let's say $20. That's probably more like it.
$20 off your Starlink.
It's $20 on your Starlink, and this is actually something that blew. I mean, I'm sure that it's advanced even more now, but 10 years ago, I think 10 years ago, I was still at Disney, and they were trying to figure out how to track people through the park, like just to simplify it. And one of those ways was something that didn't really take off. They used to do these little beacon things that would emit like Bluetooth, and your phone would kind of automatically ping back on it, and you could detect people that way. But then they figured out that there was this technology that everyone's got phones in their pockets, right? So there was these boxes they can install everywhere that would just measure the frequencies given off by all these different people's phones, and they could actually make not only a 3D map of like environments because they can see where things are bouncing, but they can track people through it. And every person's phone has a unique, some kind of a unique identifier, like a fingerprint. So now, just by you having a phone in your pocket, walking around in an area that's got a bunch of these different, very expensive sensors, now they can track you. And the second they know how to put the right face to that particular fingerprint, now they can follow everywhere you go. They don't need to install anything on your phone or any of that. But what I'm saying though is that if everyone just had one of these devices in their house, or if they made one of these devices, they could just install one every block and it gives them the same background. They already know where you're at in your house. And you know, look at when you ever get like an Uber or something, you can they can like narrow down to the exact spot you're in. Now just imagine if that were a 3D map of your environment, and that's what they already had, and this was 10 years ago, commercially viable to just put out in parks. So imagine what they truly have.
I think like the net your phone is making, your phone pinging off my phone. Like now me, you and Layla are sitting in the same room. So now they know we're like the amount of that we give them by hanging out with our phones in our pocket. Just them being like, I have all Layla's searches, all Chaney searches, and all Thomas's searches, and they're all friends. And this is how often they hang out.
I'm
It
sorry,
just
you guys, for everything that you're going to get
Me
tied up
too.
in from my search history.
it's something that actually kind of funny for real. Like I've had to, when I really thought I was gonna die, I had to tell Jules, like, I have a lot of journals, I have a lot of computers with pictures. Like I remember looking through other people I know that have passed away that had like, research stuff. And I remember looking through their journals, like 15 years ago. And I was like, damn, this motherfucker crazy drawing swastikas and shit. Now, if you look through half my journals, I'm like, what is this on the grand scheme? The amount of eyeballs, that's the thing that I feel like puts me over the edge, that I just have to tell my sister, like, it's tourist fields. Like, I was looking up other stuff. It's not all eyeballs. But that's the stuff that I think some of our research, it's like if the people didn't know us, if you just sat inside your hole all alone and nobody knew you or loved you, and somebody found you one day with your books and your research, people are like, whoa, enemy within. That's what I
Honestly,
feel like.
all these cell phone towers and, the 5G and the fucking chemtrails and XYZ that they put up in the fucking sky. I honestly believe that there's something celestial going on that they don't want us to see. And I feel that is also tied with the frequency of people, like every so often when they reach a certain level of understanding of this realm or asking the right questions, they tap into that ether where everything already exists. The ideas of the thing, whatever is possible in this realm is there. So I feel like the connection that people are getting to that, they're trying to block. I'm feeling that. I don't know why I have that sense. Maybe some other people do too, but I feel that deep. Like I feel like our connection sometimes with the ear ringing and the tetanitis and the frequencies that they're shooting with these fucking radars and NextRad towers and fucking HARP and X. It's just, I feel like they're really blocking something from humanity. 2020 crown, and I think it started even more. Fucking on notice, absolutely
I
right.
felt it coming.
2020,
I
I
felt
don't
it
know
creeping
why.
up.
The crown,
Blap, blap, blap,
corona,
blap.
your crown opening, something like in humanity is like awakening. And I don't want to call it the Great Awakening or anything like that. I don't want to
Be gay
bubble it into
about
that.
it.
But I feel like they are blocking something. And I feel like they use the Schumann resonance as something that, oh, look, this is what we're getting. But I think this is what they're doing to humanity. And it's not what we're getting from I think
People
it's
said
what
the
they're
Schumann
doing.
blacked out, right? During that whole eclipse or that blood moon.
I think so. Yeah.
What do you mean blacked out? Like the Earth just stopped emitting an 8 hertz frequency?
Every once in a while, it just fully black sheets. And they just call it a Schumann blackout. But
Hmm.
right before the Schumann blacked out, it did another one of those weird plaid patterns, I feel like, in the last week, where it, like,
The
sprung
water
up.
has been doing it too. Like they've been recording like weird phenomena of like these weird grid-like patterns that have been appearing on ocean surfaces in different parts of the world. Like literally like a harp fucking frequency pattern. It's just odd. They're shooting something at us. I don't know how or with what. I don't like it.
Or they could be like little barriers and walls that prevent messages or other types of energy and frequency from traveling. That's probably one of my absolute favorite chemtrail theories. Is that when
Mm-hmm.
you look in the sky or even in the water here, you see these box waves, right? That this
Yep.
is creating like a lattice pattern, like the same thing that when you go to catch fish, you would just create this lattice pattern because once they get inside of it, they can't get back out. And they can do this in the water and they can do it in the air. And in chemtrails, they do it in the air. This is also, if you ever heard of a Faraday cage, where you can make your own by just taking chicken wire and wrapping it around in a certain area. And now you can't get cell phone calls in or out, or you can't do any sort
Yeah.
of wireless communication because that lattice pattern, it'll absorb all the energy. It kind of acts as like this little wall or like a barrier. So
Water's its
these
own
could be versions
entity.
of that.
Yeah, water is its own entity and air is its own entity. Air, oxygen, is its own fucking intelligence. It is a living thing that without it, we die. Like, we die without it. Like, it is a necessity. Like, and it can't exist without having a barrier, by the way.
I saw this phenomenal video by KRS-One, the rapper, right? And he
Mm,
was talking about when you breathe, if you stop breathing, like if you were to cover your nose and your mouth right now, right? You wouldn't die right away. What would happen is you would lose consciousness. And he
mm,
was putting
what it
two and
is.
two together here that maybe consciousness is in the air. So by you inhaling just air around you, that is you in like actually intaking consciousness. And by not taking in air, you don't have consciousness. So that maybe it's like out here, like it's actually right here, like what's in my
Everywhere.
immediate area is what's giving me consciousness.
Yes, and giving everything else around it consciousness.
And this will actually led me down a weird rabbit hole because for like there was a
I saw
show that
that
was
video,
on
by the way.
after, but they were
Great.
talking about how baby, this is gonna sound crazy, right? I'll be able to tie it all together. They were talking about one of these babies that comes out, I think it's like 1 in 100,000, is born in a full amniotic sac, and the doctor has to pop it, and then the baby comes out, and when the doctor pops it, the babies make this weird gurgling noise. And the reason they make this gurgling noise is because up until that moment, their lungs are completely full of amniotic fluid, and they're getting their oxygen directly from the placenta and through the umbilical cord. So it's being the oxygen is being delivered directly to their system through their bloodstream. But the second that they pop that sac and the amniotic fluid leaves your lungs, you can't ever go back to that state. Except there have been sort of like military and industrial applications where they're trying to figure out how to make a synthetical placenta so that now you can actually deliver oxygen directly to your bloodstream and not even have to use your lungs, except our bodies are now so used to getting oxygen from the lungs that the body itself tries to reject this whole entire experience. But if you were able to do that, now you
Mm.
can go as anywhere you want in the water. You can go out into space. You know, you'll have a completely different oxygen supply that doesn't even rely on your lungs, and that the human lungs could actually be rendered obsolete if they were able to advance this technology far enough.
Hmm.
Do you
There's
guys
something to it.
remember this scene in The Abyss?
Yeah.
And they take his rat named Kirby, and they're like, relax, it's just a pink liquid. We all know our muscle memory all remembers how to breathe liquid because we all did it in utero. It's a little thicker to breathe than air, so it takes a minute. And then he's like, stop, dude, you're killing her. You're killing him. Let him out. Let him out. You're killing him. He's got it. He's got it. And then eventually the rat starts swimming around in there and totally starts breathing the pink liquid. And it's the same way that when they talk about like the Titan sub collapsing on itself, it's because your lungs are a cavity, so eventually the pressure of the liquid outside is going to collapse your lungs like that. But
Yeah.
humans would be able to go down deeper in the water if they could put liquid inside their lungs. Their body wouldn't collapse on itself.
Right.
And
And,
so
They
go ahead.
so they
it,
say
yeah, go
oh,
on.
sorry.
Oh, I
So
was
they
just gonna
say it's like
like
umbilical cord, but it's probably not Chaney. It's probably the amniotic fluid that makes the child breathe, and it's
What's
not the umbilical cord.
apparently it's supposed to be the oxygen gets generated somehow by the placenta and it goes through. So if you were to cut off connection to the placenta and you didn't allow the baby to like get the fluid out of its lungs and start using its lungs, then it could potentially suffocate. So, and that's what they're calling this technology, are these synthetic placentas. But you could just like cart one around with you. You could just like throw one on your backpack maybe, and now you've got oxygen supply regardless of what environment you go into.
Does anyone know what amniotic fluid looks like under the telescope? Did we go through that
yes.
before?
Yeah, like it's like a starflake. We've done it a few times. I feel like on Sunday's show though. I
Yeah.
can pull it up
It
again.
looks incredible apparently, right?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like angel
Out of this world?
dust.
Mhm.
I will pull that up next. I was just gonna pull up this part of like the abyss where the water alien comes through their ship and then like turns itself into his face and is like looking at them in like this kind of way. And it's
Mhm.
so interesting to me because a lot of people I know that have hang out with the aether and they've seen it just around them, like on mushrooms or on DMT or on whatever, it is so similar to this. And so when we always talk about maybe we're just in different like density water all the time, and like that same energy that we see around us might exist in the water as well, is kind of a wild thought. Like something has life in there.
Well, air is literally a liquid. It's just not the same that we're used to when you talk about water, but air is very much a liquid. We're just living in a different density of liquid.
It reminds me of the story or that poem of the two twins in the mother's womb. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh
I
my
haven't heard
god.
this.
Oh, I'm gonna bring it up. Hold on. Hold on. This is fucking phenomenal.
Is it about like the placenta?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no. It's about being in the mother's womb. It's very interesting. Twins. Mothers.
This is gonna be
Do you know anyone that's ever eaten a placenta?
yeah, I feel like I do, and I don't know who for some reason.
I wonder if they can breathe underwater now.
It's not long. Okay.
I wonder, yeah, go on.
In a mother's womb were two babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" The other replied, "Why, of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what we will be later." "Nonsense," said the first. "There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be?" The second said, "I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we'll walk with our legs and eat from our mouths. Maybe we'll have our other senses that we can't understand now." The first replied, "That is absurd. Walking is impossible, and eating with our mouths ridiculous. The umbilical cord supplies nutrition and everything we need, but the umbilical cord is so short. Life after delivery is to be logically excluded." The second insisted, "Well, I think there is something that, and maybe it's different than it is here. Maybe we don't need this physical cord anymore." The first replied, "Nonsense. Moreover, if there is life, then why has no one ever come back from there? Delivery is the end of life, and in the after delivery, there's nothing but darkness and silence and oblivion. It takes us nowhere." "Well, I don't know," said the second, "but certainly we will meet Mother, and she will take care of us." The first replied, "Mother? You actually believe in Mother? That's laughable. If Mother exists, where is she now?" The second said, "She's all around us. We are surrounded by her. We are of her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist." said the first. Well, I don't see her, so it is only logical that she doesn't exist. It's almost done. To which the second replied, sometimes when you're in silence and focus and you really listen, you can perceive her presence and you can hear her loving voice calling down from above. Boom.
It sounds like an
So,
internet argument.
so it's like, almost, are we in a womb if this is all water?
Maybe, but I feel like if that's the case, our mom is smoking meth right now.
Well, they talk about us like having a link, like a silver cord that we're all attached to, supposedly. Don't they say that?
Right. And that when you lose consciousness, ironically, that the only thing keeping your soul tethered to your physical body is this little silver cord, and that it has a very specific length to it, and that things can happen in the astral realm where little evil homunculi can like snip that little cord. And if they snip that cord, or if you do something yourself that somehow severs that cord, now your body is fair game for any other sort of, free agent that wants to sign up for the team. Like, they're on the team immediately if your soul's not around to pop back into place. These are some of the weird alchemical occult books that I read with Juan. A lot of them talk about raising the homunculus for the sole intent of guarding your astral body, or guarding your real body when your astral body is away, or if you've intentionally severed that silver cord. You need a thing that doesn't have a soul to look after your body, that won't also try and steal your body. And that's why that's why one of the reasons that you want a creature that doesn't have a soul, because it can't try and steal your body while you're gone.
Oh,
Huh.
and by the way, it's not like a physical silver cord, MS. It's like a spiritual, like silver, like in color, and in the way it gleams, apparently.
I
But
think
there's
like
like
Donnie Darko, whenever that comes up. If you ever seen
it's
Donnie Darko, where
I'll pull it
everyone's
up.
kind of connected by these weird, like, interdimensional vortices.
there you go. That's the word. Or the words.
I'm gonna pull it up right now. Well, it's so crazy because after we just looked at that water, and now from the abyss, and now pulling back up this Donnie Darko, look at the same energy.
And I
Yeah,
just want
it's
to say,
like
it's not the size of your silver core. That's what someone said in the comments. It's not the size. It's
It's
how you
not
use
the
it.
size of your
it's
silver
a curse.
cord that matters. It's the way you use it, everybody. It's the energy in your silver cord. That is so funny. Just FYI, real quick, just for any fans of Abbie, I'll just let you know that Abbie has friends in town today, and so she's hanging out with her friends in town. And you guys can go over to Abstract One on Instagram and follow her, and she will be back on her same regular time and channel soon. So
Love you, Abbie.
shout out to Abbie, and we love her, and we always just look at her booty.
This can get us demonetized too, right? It
I
has
know. It's usually Abbie that does. It's either talking about vaccines or Abbie's almost naked. It's one or the other. That's so sexual. No, she's just working out. And
So
here's the other thing you asked for real quick before
yeah.
we totally
This is a
get off
very
of
interesting topic I want to bring up.
it.
It'll make everybody's mind do a thing.
This is
think.
amniotic fluid under a microscope.
Yep. Isn't it pretty?
Looks like fern.
Yeah. It's very pretty. And look at what you know how they tell you, like, oh, you guys, you get your oxygen from leaves, like from the trees and blah blah blah.
Right,
That's
which
what it
also
looks
looks like lungs.
I
Yeah,
was thinking about
totally.
something else. Ash. Apparently, human ash looks like stars and crystals and the solar system and shit. But anyway, I came
Next
upon
thing,
something fucking fascinating that, like, poof, blew my mind. So, how many angels fell from heaven? 200, right? The
yeah,
number's
Is this a
200,
joke?
I believe.
127 of I don't
I think
know.
it was 200.
It
something
changes
like
all
that.
the time, but somewhere more than
Yeah.
one.
Okay. So there's apparently 196 craters without any meteorites around the globe, or around the earth, around the flat earth, or whatever, donut earth. And it's very interesting because this person said, what if these are the places all these angels fell? And they're huge ass fucking craters all over, and they're not volcanic. There's no meteors in there. There's just like a fucking crater all over the fucking world. And everyone's now, there's this whole theory coming about like, are these where the angels fell? Are these the spots around the earth? And they only found 196 so far, and there's God knows how many more, like probably hidden throughout forests and things that they haven't discovered yet. But it's very interesting um to have that like as a theory going around, because it, like, what else could it be? Where could these like craters come from?
I'm gonna look up the craters too.
Uh-huh.
They said that the embiotic fluid looked like fossils in Morocco, so I wanted to look up the
Interesting.
fossils.
Fossils
And
of what? Like, what was that even a fossil of? A root system?
I
An
don't
ant
know.
farm?
Maybe let's see the museum.
Or
Wonderful
like sea
specimen.
anemones?
Yeah. Sea anemone. You're an enemy of an enemy is my friend.
Yeah, why are craters straight down? They're not in an angle. They're just like literally plop.
Look at you
Like,
guys. We made
boom.
it naturally to this on Pi Day.
Nice. Little
Yeah.
Fibonacci, little
Just
phi.
little something.
Spiral. That has anyone looked in? Has the FBI task force looked into snails? This looks like one of those symbols.
Let me get it out of here. But Layla, you were saying that there's certain craters around the planet or on the moon.
On the planet, on our planet.
On our planet. Okay.
Yeah, so far they found 196 or 69. I'm not, maybe my dyslexia, I don't recall right now, but it's a very interesting video. I think it was like one of those Tartarian videos and mud flood and all of that. And they're like, these craters are very fascinating because there's no meteorites in them. They're not volcanic. They're just like random fucking craters. Some are smaller than others, and they're just like a direct, like, straight hit, not like on an angle. Like, it's just fucking random all over the planet.
Scientists have identified around 190 confirmed impact crater structures on Earth. However, Earth active geological process erase impact records, blah, blah, blah. But that's pretty, I mean, dead on, even from Google's, even from our favorite search engine.
What else could they possibly be? I don't know. But that kind of makes sense if the whole story of like angels fell on Earth and they were ginormous. Nice way to come
and
up to
it's
Earth.
a Book of Enoch that mentions 200 angels led by Samyaza that come to Earth. So I've more over the last 10 years, I've become more and more receptive to the astro-theological sort of tale of the world, meaning that all the different stories and the parables, they're just a farmer's almanac, like a much more ancient, larger, grander scale. And the whole thing about how Jesus and the fish, teaching people to fish and the feeding of the fish, that's just talking about being in Pisces, and that before that, Moses and the Jews being, known as like goats and rams, and even all the depictions of Moses, including on the Sistine Chapel, I think he's got goat horns because this was referring to Aries, and that all of these different things are really just telling about. I'm not breaking new ground here. This is like old school Jordan Maxwell, but I used to just think like, oh, that's an interesting interpretation. But the more this comes up, like even this part, right? The meteors hitting the Earth 190 times, and these stories about 200 angels coming to Earth. There's so many weird anomalies that line up between the astro-theological record and all of the stories that we hear.
Well, when you look at them, they don't look like they're being like in an angle. You'd see the angle of the thing. It'll cause like a little cave formation to happen if it were like hitting in an angle. These are like boom, straight hits.
That's what they always look like.
Oh.
They never come like, or you'd assume you'd even get that like skip pattern on a lake where you might get it hit, skip, hit, and then drag.
And
You
land.
never get it. They always are exactly where it's almost like a dropped center bomb blowout.
Yep.
Well, it'd be like if you hit a golf ball into mud, right? Or if you try to skip a rock across mud. That's kind of what it seems that happens.
But it doesn't do what that. It almost drops like it drops straight out of the sky like a raindrop.
Yeah, like beep,
It seems like there's no speed on it.
like a
Almost like
punch.
they fell in
Boom.
that Superman, like the thing, like whoosh, and just landed on their knee.
Yeah,
Like that's what it seems
Super
like.
Saiyan shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm
blew
a
my
person that
mind.
kind of believes in all of the stories. Like, I don't think any of them are fake. I think the ones that stay the longest are like have some like all that much more stuff.
I
But
believe they're possible. I don't want to necessarily believe them. I believe there's a possibility to believe the thing, but it's very fascinating if it were like real and true, like it makes sense. I don't fucking know.
Crater Lake's pretty amazing in
Fucking wild.
Oregon. I mean, they say I don't know. I'll pull up pictures. Crater Lake in Oregon. It's the deepest lake in the United States, and it's a volcanic caldera lake in Oregon's mountains. But they call it Crater Lake. I guess it has nothing to do, so I'm not even going to pull it up.
Right now. Hold on.
I
I
bet
don't
you Howard Hughes has been to the bottom of that lake.
Crater Lake. Dude, Howard Hughes is on the timeline now. I'm going to show you this one picture of Crater Lake from above because I just think other people are talking about it. It makes me excited. I'm like,
Well, you know what? You can't release all these JFK files and all these other ancient CIA files without also exposing a whole bunch of Howard Hughes stuff. And not to say the God Emperor's name so early in the show, but Trump has got to know some Howard Hughes dirt that nobody else knows because of how thick he is in Vegas.
totally. We could totally have another show and geek out again soon and have Philip come and re-Vegas up again because I even think what's that? John Palantir or whatever, the sheriff from the Vegas shooting who's involved in the Maui fires is now coming up in all the Diddy scandal. So I think
He had a
that
Diddy party?
I don't know what his actual charges are. Hold on, let me
The guy that was part of the Lahaina fires, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Posted something
sheriff.
on that.
Oh my.
Oof,
Sorry for laughing.
my bad.
Wait, Steve, wait, let me just put in Vegas sheriff. I feel like I'm getting my conspiracies.
So a new study has come out that marijuana is a really good antidepressant, which I agree.
It depends on I do think a ton, but it depends on the terpenes in it. But there is a lot of terpenes that are antidepressants, and some of
Yeah,
them, if you put too much of them together, they might give you anxiety
yeah.
because it makes you like,
Well,
but
I've mentioned this one before, but I took too much RSO once, and it made
what's
me
that?
cry like all
Rick
day.
Simpson oil.
And it wasn't
Mm.
about anything in particular. Like it hit some weird button inside my brain that was just like, we're gonna be very sad and cry now. And it literally was triggered directly by the RSO and went away after the RSO wore off.
It says, looking at John Palantir's role in 2017 Las Vegas shooting amid Diddy links. So Maui Police Chief John Palantir, murdering whatever his last name is, has been named in a lawsuit related to a gang rape involving Sean Diddy Combs. First came into the spotlight in 2017 after leading the response in the Las Vegas shooting. And then he's also was involved in the Maui fires. I think he became like the sheriff or mayor or something there as well.
Oprah's house.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like we see him again and again. And I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive Trump was in Vegas at the same time during all that stuff or like the day before or something. And there was also a huge Saudi deal going on in the hotel a huge arms deal. So you get all into Khashoggi and him being cut up in the Turkish, I think it was the Turkish Emirates. Wait, I don't remember now where,
Turkey.
but Jamal Khashoggi, and then he's related to Dodi Fayette, and I don't know. The conspiracies do just seem like they all attach in this way that's like, yikes. Diddy again.
There's one other explanation of why sometimes those conspiracies feel so circular and like everything keeps connecting. What if it is like a very small group? What if it's not a massive group of so many people that it's just the same usual suspects over and over? Because if you were in a small town or even in a large city, usually it's a certain gang that's kind of like running stuff a little bit, or like the same usual suspects. You've got old drunk Charlie that's always in the jail, or you got the same people that are constantly breaking in or starting fights in bars. It's not like literally a completely different person every week. Over time, you'll see patterns and you'll see certain usual suspects. And I think that that's probably in an as above, so below way, right? That's kind of the same way that it works. That there's
Some people like it. Some people would just rather be in jail. You just
That's
get in
true.
trouble and you're like, I just want to be in jail. I
They're
have
like,
a
it's
bed.
easy.
I get
Like,
fed.
yeah, 3
It's easy.
squares,
I don't have
play
to worry about
basketball.
bills.
I do not like it. It's actually not fun at all.
No, it's not.
It's kind of the
No.
worst.
But hey, that's how they feel. Some of these people are like, I'd rather be in jail than on the fucking street. I'm too lazy. I know it. And they just accept that fate and they said, I'd rather be in jail.
You know what they like is the structure, and then what happens is if they get out of jail, that the structure is no longer enforced. So now it's up to them to have some kind of structure in their lives, and a lot of them just never apply that, and they just are like, that's what they're really looking for. They just want structure. They want someone to tell them when to wake up and when it's time to eat and all this stuff. It's not the fact that they're providing a place to sleep and they're providing the food. It's because they're actually giving you like the times to do it all.
Mommy issues, man. That's
it's
the
moving back towards the
problem.
parents.
Yeah.
But we're a
Holy
little bit
fuck.
worse, depending on how you grew up.
Well,
but yeah.
You know what's crazy? There's talks of like how like, oh, kicking your kids out when they're 18 is a fucking government psyop so they can get more rent and more taxes and more this instead of everybody trying to live in one roof like how you always used to be. And I'm like, yeah, but I get it. But like it's a fucking psyop. Yes, it is a psyop, but at the same time, like I've lived kind of in like that environment of like all the family being involved, like your entire fucking family being involved in everything and every aspect of your life. It just like, whoa, therapy. But like I don't know.
Well, that's one of the things that a lot of people usually say we've lost, connection with, especially in America. That we don't have that anymore. But there's always, two sides to the coin, right? Like the grass is always greener in a way. Where here we've become isolated, but on the other end of that extreme, the whole family's up in your shit 24/7.
Yeah. And it sometimes is a good thing, but then it's like everyone trying to control each other's mind and how to be and tradition this and tradition that. And I get it, but it's like, why? Like, you have one life. Why all this control and this, like, try to be this way, try to be that way? Be a good human, yeah. But, like, why do you have to hold on weird traditions and, like, keeping everything together? Oh, because the government. I get that, but, like, at the same time, you're free beings. Like, you don't need to be all in a hive, or maybe you do, but we should be like brothers and sisters in the sense of community. It doesn't necessarily have to be just your initial family, right?
I feel like I could live in a community with people in like a neighborhood. But I need my own door. And this is a Miss Patty saying, this is my mom. She says, there's a lot about the lesbian lifestyle that I could really get down with, but I do not understand how any other woman shares a house with another grown woman.
Yeah.
She's like, I just want to put my shit. I want to decorate how I want. I don't want anyone else's input. And I'm like, huh? Like she's like, I don't want another lady telling me there. I'm like, oh,
Like that lady, who can say she got her own castle? She looks great for her age.
Enya.
Like, yeah, she lives by herself. Like, she's living her fucking life, man. She looks fantastic. No stress, no kids, no nothing. Like, poof. I love that.
She puts out one song a decade.
That's it, and it's a hit.
We're talking Enya from the 90s.
Yeah, I think that's her.
She's like Irish or something, isn't she?
Yeah, black hair, kind of. I think. Yeah.
That's crazy that for the first time in like since the 90s, Enya came up this week for me. Last
Enya on the
week, I think.
timeline.
We did, yeah. We put it on the timeline. I did an interview with Weston Cage, who's a musician, and he's also son of actor Nicolas Cage. But he basically, we talked about Enya for an hour and played some of those old Enya, and you know what? It was all from the Pure Moods soundtrack, and I completely forgot that thing etched itself into my brain because this infomercial would show up at like midnight every single night if I fell asleep with the TV on. So I'd always wake up and it was Enya and it was Enigma that were just and the freaking techno X-Files remix. Those three songs. Yes, dude, that one. Return to innocence.
Nostalgic as fuck, though. I miss those days.
And also it came. I remember the Gregorian chants that were big in the 90s. Like that one, like the Gregorian chants were making a comeback.
I hate that we're in a world that I can't just play this right now. And this is why we're going to do something else, not wherever we're allowed to do this shit. Just so we can talk about, like, play a song right now and it's fine. I think we can do that on X.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I
Rumble.
think we could.
X and Rumble, you can do it.
We could pull up a song right now and play it. But if we did it on YouTube, they might take the whole stream down in the next few seconds.
They absolutely would, yeah.
So, darn it, because I was like looking at that Pure Mood soundtrack, thinking like
engraved in our brains already.
No, we played it. We had to switch off YouTube, but we switched over to Rumble and we played that entire infomercial, and it was like a complete. It was just like snorting nostalgia.
I love it. I love it. These new alpha kids, beta. What generation are we in? Alpha, beta.
I think it's like the microplastic gen.
I have no idea, but they have no idea what life used to be like. Kids, hey, come outside. Fine, yeah, okay. Boom, outside till the fucking lamps turned on, and everyone went home
before they turned purple.
Yeah, and all the fucking fireflies, they were all over the place. Now they're nowhere.
You know what? That's not just a random observation. There is record. Like the least amount of insects that there's been in basically in our lifetime. And the reason this even came up is because in Florida, you're used to, if you drive for more than 40 minutes most of the time, the whole front of your car is covered in love bugs around this time going into the next few months. And this year, it's supposed to be the least amount of love bugs we've ever seen, along with the least of almost every other insect that we've seen, because there's just been a huge dip. It's, to be honest, it's down from an all-time high. So we're going through extremes right now.
Something so weird. Like mysterious birds just fucking like hitting random buildings, or like just dropping dead, or like all like slamming onto the floor all at once. You guys saw that video?
I've seen them on the cruise ships.
I just wanted to stop and take a second. This episode is brought to you by the Pure Mood soundtrack. You guys, I noticed that our audience is a little worried about what album it is and where they can find it. It was released in 1994, re-released in 1997, and you too can listen to some Enigma, some Enya, Massive Attack, Moby, Delirium. So this is like your mother's rave.
Yeah, search the video, the infomercial of Pure Moods, and you'll see what we're talking about.
I know
Pure Moods infomercial.
If you owned this album and you were an adult, or like 20s or above, you were probably doing ecstasy in the 90s.
Yeah, probably.
Pure Moods
Oh my god, I'm gonna have
infomercial.
that song in my head now.
You don't even want to know. I have the worst one stuck in my head because I pressed play and now I have Chariot of Fire stuck in my head. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, I feel like, do you think we'll be able to play the commercial?
Oh no.
It's risky. You're playing with fire.
I want to just.
'Cause what'll happen is that they've got a fingerprint for every commercial song ever released. So even if you're playing it within the context of a commercial, they're gonna think you just played copyrighted music.
Uh-huh. So annoying.
I know. I'm like, can't I just play the commercial and advertise for Pure Moods? So annoying. I just want to listen to it. I feel like the songs will be like 10 seconds long before they pop to the next song. They'll be right under the thing, but I guess you could have just watched TV back when.
I'm not saying not to, but I'm definitely saying that it is you're playing with fire. Like I like seeing things burn.
Let's
like,
see
I'm
what
not
the
gonna say not
audience
to play with
says.
fire.
We'll wait and see what the studio audience says. Oh my gosh. So for the 170 people that are watching us wherever you are right now, hit the bell or thumbs up or whatever. And if you're looking for the coolest comic books and conspiracy, you can go over to paranoidamerican.com and educate yourself on something like the moon landing or Bohemian Grove.
And there's Secret Society of Good Guys stickers that exist now.
look.
I haven't announced them yet. They're going to go out to my Patreons first, and then anything that's left over, I'm going to send you guys some, and then we'll figure out if we want to do giveaways or what.
Oh, awesome. So if you guys are a member of Thomas's Patreon, or you can go be at Paranoid American on the Patreon, and then you'd get those stickers even before us.
Yep.
Just saying. So what was I doing before that?
Checking the stickers?
No. I was gonna pull. Oh yeah, we're gonna watch the Pure Moods commercial.
Oh.
I'm like, so if we get pulled down right now, it's because at 124 we're gonna. This is so important to me, right? To my OCD right now. I don't know why. So let's see.
Imagine a world where time drifts slowly, a world where music carries you away. Experience Pure Moods, the perfect soundtrack for your way of life. Direct from Europe, this multi-platinum collection has won the hearts of millions. Pure ecstasy, pure moods. No other collection captures the mood better. Pure moods, over 1 hour of pure enjoyment. There's never been a collection like it until
This
now.
person's on their yacht right now. Have you ever looked into one of these phone numbers and seen if you call
Set
it now?
adrift with the timeless pleasures of tubular
loud.
bells.
Oh, that's exactly how I'd be on my TV if I was trying to talk.
Into the unknown.
Can we order a copy of Pure Moods right now?
I know. Layla, can you call that number right now? Live?
Pure emotion, pure pleasure.
It's going to be something
No
horrible.
other collection gives you the feeling of pure moods.
What's the number?
Get yours now on cassette or
Oh,
compact disc.
It'll tell us again. That song. Boop, boop, boop,
To
boop.
order Pure Moods, have your credit card ready and call
All
the
right.
number on your screen.
Okay,
Or send
I'm
check
turning
or
it off.
money order for $15.99
You guys, I
for
feel like we're all
or
about to walk in on our
$17.99 for
parents
CD,
doing something
plus shipping and
awful.
handling to the address.
Doing something inhumane to each other.
I wonder.
Get out of
Let's see.
here. I still hear it somewhere. Make it stop. This is where you get your hard hitting news, you guys. Secret Society of Good Guys. We lost like 20 viewers from that.
We don't want them. That's us.
Yeah,
don't
we
wanna-
figure
tweeting
some
out.
PTSD, hardcore memories. Nothing. Just
Nothing.
ringing.
Huh. It's wasted. Pure
Mm,
I
moods.
would love
can't
to
order it.
see if
Barely.
we can acquire that 800 number and like, you know, put some life back into that
I
somehow.
wonder if
Ooh.
we can, how much it would be if we buy each of those songs, like the right to get to release them and put a compilation, and then all of us just push for your moods again on all of our podcasts.
I mean, honestly, we could just take those songs and put them into AI and have AI generate completely different versions that sound exactly the same, if you know what I mean? And then just release a new Pure Moods album that's completely original yet exactly the same.
And our album would be called Your Parents Are Doing It. It's so crazy.
Wow.
I it was like whatever their spiritual like they didn't meditate. They listened to Pure Moods.
Yeah, that was probably like an ecstasy moment time, right? Ecstasy.
I don't remember what year it was, but there was a certain time you could just buy in the gas station.
What? Ecstasy?
Not when I was
Pure Moods.
old, but
Oh.
yeah, ecstasy. You could
Oh,
go to a
ecstasy.
gas station. In certain states, it was more popular than others. In Texas, it was big, but you could go into a gas station and order it from behind the counter.
I don't know why Pure
Damn.
Moods Part 2, and it's their exact album cover with blood dripping down
Not gonna lie, I had some great
with a
times.
bullet hole in it.
It was great.
What?
I had some great times with ecstasy at Pasha.
Never met her.
No, at a club. It was so much fun. It was so great. Memorable experiences.
I know you brought
Like-
up RSO earlier, and I was like, when I had my near-death experience, RSO was definitely with me on that. It was one of the like
One of the least pleasurable sort of experiences for sure.
it was
is
to
taking
add
the
on to
RSO.
it was the most pain I had ever been in my whole life. Like I was raw dogging my first chemo in my weakest body. I didn't even think it was possible for my body to ever be so weak and little and fragile. And then I had just had a huge surgery. And so it was like I had the rigors, which is just pretty much you're running such a bad fever that you are shaking like I really, and then RSO. So it was like the combination of all the worst that life had to throw at me, that on the other side of it, it was like a whole new world. It was like it was such a dark place that the next day was like opening curtains, like I was Snow White. Like, boom,
only
a
imagine.
whole new world. Like that is Ariel. Don't eat the mermaid.
Imagine if that became a standard part of all these therapies, that everybody, like whether you want it or not,
not
if you're
even
going through
Ariel.
chemo, you're getting 1,000 milligrams of RSO right now.
It probably I don't think I would have I don't think I needed any antidepressants or anything. I think it's like you could take antidepressants for this period of time to kind of numb you out, or you could just meet your maker and then it's like, or you could just die and then you're like, oh, I'm not scared of dying anymore.
Isn't there like a whole theory about like your 4 bodies, your spiritual body, your physical body, your I forgot the other 2. There's 2 others. When I'm
Ninja
stoned, I
Turtles?
can't think of the names. Yeah, astral body, and there's another one.
Yeah, Juan always says they cloned me because my spleen is one of those bodies that
There
you're
you go.
like it's your ethereal or your astral body. It's one or the
Yeah.
other. And he's like, you don't have that anymore. You're a clone.
It just came to my head. So it's like, what if like not only do you have to heal that part of your body like physically, but whatever is that attachment to the other bodies, you have to heal something in one of those other bodies that you're not aware of. Your spiritual, your
I don't
astral,
know.
what you're putting your other bodies through. Your
I don't
astral
know.
body's probably like trying to fucking connect, and you go through sleep paralysis, and you're like, oh, it's a fucking demon. And it's like you don't know what this entity is, so your brain creates an image of it, and so you finally like see what the entity is. It's like your higher self trying to warn you about something or talk to you, and you're just like fucking ignoring it, being like docile.
I don't know.
I'm weird.
No, I
weird.
felt like I was talking there's another whole thing too where like each one of your organs actually is an emotion and your spleen is your joy center. And if you knew me, joy would not necessarily have been a word that you would have been like, Chaney's so joyful.
Mm,
And so it was definitely something that I lacked an abundance of in my life, especially
mm,
where we had gotten it's why I even brought up the Pizzagate thing before, is because I think everything where people are like, "Oh, I'm going to hold space for you. I'm holding space." And it's become this trite thing, but in reality, sometimes like you venting and me validating, I carry your emotion with you.
yeah.
And there's like I am actually holding space for you to vent, for you to cry, for you to do this thing, and I'm carrying this amount of energy with you in this way, and it's like holding space in this good way. Sometimes
What
I
does
think
that
as
mean? Holding
well,
like holding like space in a closet?
well, even if you were holding court and you had a whole bunch of people's ears,
Okay.
you're
Okay,
like
I get
kind of
that.
holding space in a way. But if it's just one person and somebody feels not listened to, or a whole bunch of people listen in a room and they're like just are like blah 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 whatever it is, and they're like, oh my god, you guys, I just put all that on you. Thank you for letting me do that. And sometimes people are awful. They're like, fuck this, get out of here, you're boring me. And other times they're like there and present, and you're like, thank you for holding this space. But sometimes in a collective form, I think these like dark and light things that we learn about that are like crawl, like they're stuck in us, that Pizzagate's going on and the world doesn't care. How could the world not care? And you're like beside yourself with this thing, but now the world cares and you're kind of free from it being in your crawl, in that way of like holding space. Like somewhere the collective has taken on the responsibility of the Epstein files, even that it's not my fight anymore. It was my fight alone for fucking 15 years. Not, obviously just me, but me and a couple, whoever else was allowed to talk about it without losing an account. And now that it is like everywhere all the time, I just don't, it's not that I don't care, but I'm just like, oh, you guys got that now. There's enough of you actually talking about that thing that I don't have to stay up at night thinking about this thing all the time alone. And so I feel like in conspiracy, there's been so many things that has happened to where I'm like, I'm not the only one staring at this symbolism. Like, what the fuck? Even Kanye's looking at this like, what the fuck?
I'm a
That
little
I just,
black pilled on this though, because I used to believe that whole idea of, well, if you could just start the conversation, if you could just get more people talking and thinking about it. I'm kind of black pilled on that now. I think that that's kind of silly. The more people talking about it and not doing anything about it actually hurts overall, because for most people that are deep, balls deep into this Epstein stuff right now, at the research, and they know about the Black Book and they know about Zorro Ranch, they know all the little tidbits. How many know the same amount of information about Larry King, Lawrence King and Craig Spence and Alan Baer and Peter Citron, and that this thing has happened before, well documented, even got all the way up to state and even the national spotlight. There was that newspaper article, I think it was a Washington Post, but it said something like homosexual cowboys ensnared in midnight run to White House, and it was talking about how they were going on. And this, like, we've been through this before, or at least in the early 90s. This all has happened, and then nothing really came out of it. And then Epstein is just another iteration of this. And I feel that this is going to happen every 30 or so years, and it's when it just gets flushed back out, and it keeps it's like ebbs and flows, almost like waves coming in and out. And I don't see any end to it, because the way that this one is unspoken of, the same thing in 30 years from now, Epstein will be some obscure reference that you'd only really know about if you were a deep conspiracy theorist.
isn't this funny? Even in fucking Wikipedia, this just triggered me just now. Franklin child prostitution ring allegations.
Right, because
Children can't be fucking prostitutes. Like this shit is so fucking this is the little tiny things that just happen in wording inside of fucking liberal shithole like Wikipedia, that it's like, and that they add allegations to the end of it. It's
Well,
like,
this is
ugh.
the wild part of it, because they add allegation. This is a new development. I've actually seen this page shift in nature from 2006 on, when it was originally there was an entire wiki page for Lawrence King. There was an entire wiki page for Paul Benassi, Alicia Owens, Troy Boner, all these guys that were involved in
And
this.
look at, you can't even click their names anymore.
Yeah, and this page is a tiny fraction of what it once was. And
Yeah,
the
look
whole
at
thing about the
that.
allegations is
It's
because they all came out and they all were documented as saying all of these things that corroborate with each other. But then Troy Boner ends up getting, and what a bunch of weird names. I just have to say, the guy's names were Troy Boner, Paul Bonassi, and then Alicia Owens, but she spelled Elisa with CIA in it. I'm just saying, out of those three. But that they all came forward, they all had the exact same allegations. They mentioned the same names over and over: Lawrence King, Alan Baer, Peter Citron. And then afterwards, they all actually started going to court and they started doing the depositions. Troy Boner, they had an FBI tape that was leaked of him talking to Alicia on the phone after he recanted, and he said, "Okay, we've made all this up. Alicia's lying, all this." And what ends up happening is that they take the accusers and they spin it around and they turn them into the perpetrators. And now Alicia Owens is going to jail for perjury for sticking with this story and never changing any of her story. And then one of the other guys, Troy Boner, and on that call, he literally is saying, like, they're pressuring me. They're pressuring me. I can't keep this up. I can't go to jail. So he recants, and then she goes to jail. It's crazy. It's a crazy story, but that's the reason why it says allegations, is because the ultimate conclusion of that case was just that they were all lying and that Alicia Owens got sent to prison for perjury.
You know, recently, speaking of child trafficking, because that's what's happening now, prostitution, I think one of the congresswomen made a speech, stepped down, said, "I quit anyway." She's quitting. And she gave a speech saying, "We need to stop men prostituting children. Like, we need to stop trafficking children. Like, this is what we can all agree on, but men need to stop, blah, blah, blah." And she made this whole speech. I forgot what her fucking name is, but she, like, brought that to everybody's attention. And she's talking about how, like, a bunch of these people who are doing this to children go to jail and they come right back out, do the same thing, go to jail, come right back out. It's a fucking never-ending fucking cycle. And I'm just happy that, yeah, she's stepping down, whatever, that's her prerogative. Wherever side, I don't care what side, I agree with whatever side you are and you agree with child trafficking is wrong. I'm with you on that. I don't care what side you
Look
pick.
at, I can't click these names either, Thomas.
Yeah, no, all this stuff has been scrubbed
This
slowly
is
and
so
slowly.
crazy. If you've been looking into this stuff long enough, these actually, I will get, like, wiki in this way, like the same way as our hashtags used to work. You used to, you know, people would put some information in there, and now all these names and stuff, you can't click on them or find out
And
who
it's
they
not
were
like they're
married
out of
to, or
space, right? It's not like they were running out
crazy.
of space to put this stuff. It just gets edited out, and it's so much easier. Imagine how much time it would take to write together a comprehensive page on Lawrence King or any of these topics, like these deeply complicated topics, and then someone goes in and just deletes the whole thing, and then that gets approved, and it gets buried over time, and then eventually just lost forever. The amount of time it takes to put that together versus the amount of time it takes to just delete it, it's like a click of a button and all that work's gone. And they can only rebuild the temple so many times if someone can just walk by and just push it over. And I think that's part of the conspiracy of Wikipedia in my mind, is that it's so easy to wipe things out to get the reputation of, oh my God, you have to bookmark this Wikipedia page, it's the most comprehensive. You go back 3 years later and the things have shifted around a little bit, right? Like reality has changed from under your feet, and Wikipedia is part of this initiative to get us to all accept that. Like, that's normal. It's normal for you, like, they can kind of make this Mandela effect. They can cause it on purpose, right?
I don't know. Anyone remember the Big Johnson T-shirts and branding in the 90s
Yeah,
that came up
no
in
fear.
conversation to my wife? Look, this is how it all works. Layla, go ahead. But I'm gonna pull up Big Johnson and we're gonna put Big Johnson on the
Yeah.
timeline.
Do you remember, like, since we always want to bring up Turkey, and this is might be some like Turkey like takeover, and we're just like blind to it right now. But y'all remember, like, one of the major news reporting stations in Turkey had a whole segment on panda eyes, and all these fucking movie stars who apparently are cannibals and eat children and use their blood for adrenochrome and XYZ. And then all of a sudden, they stopped talking about it. But it went on to the major number one news station in Turkey and reported this about Hollywood. I think it's still up. I hope. I don't know anymore, but they had a whole segment and it blew my mind.
I wanted to find a vintage design. That isn't clear enough though of the Big Johnson.
What we need is a Big Johnson slap bracelet.
Yeah, I like that idea. Here would be a version of the Big Johnson. It came out though. It was kind of funny because on our T-shirts there was also sex wax that we would use for serving. Wow, what happened? Big Johnson.
You knew if you saw a kid wearing Big Johnson that their parents let them drink.
Big Johnson. I know it is kind of weird now thinking about it. Big Johnson on the timeline. So you did that when it comes up again. When Kanye makes a Big Johnson shirt. This was the other thing that I kind of think about all of it over and over again is when what is going on Sam's Club? When Melania wore this, I really think this about so many people with like, I don't really care, do you? Because it's like so much stuff is just this social outrage, but they really don't care. It's just like the click of the day or the click of the thing. Like they're just like the same people who didn't care about it. And they're like, oh, everybody seems to like U2. U2's my favorite band. Oh, we hate U2. I hate them. It's just like,
I blame algorithms for how people are acting today. I really do. Especially like the divide, I blame the algorithms. It depends on the algorithm you're on. Because I see so much unhinged, like from the other side for no fucking reason right now. We're trying to create peace and they're angry. We're trying to put America first and you're angry.
big ups, big ups. Big up yourself.
What up, Summer?
Big up yourself. Yeah, I don't. So we had a blood moon, space station stuff. I know that everybody's like Massey versus Trump. That was like a big thing that happened this week. And
Someone needs to explain that to me because I missed out on it. I was at work.
that Massey was just like, oh, you're gonna pass another spending bill? No. And they're like, what? They're like, this is Joe Biden's spending bill. And everybody's like, you have to pass a spending bill because we have to keep Doge running. You like, so that we can do what we're trying to do. And they're like, you know, one side was just like, you're grandstanding. And the other side is like, it's not grandstanding if this is what I do every single time. Like this is like he has like a Ron Paul stance. He would be like the modern Ron Paul, or Rand even did the same thing. So it's just that like libertarian stance against it and everybody else. But then like it already went through this dance. Massey came out and was like, the Democrats are going to pass it. This is just a dance that they're doing. Like it's already going to pass. And so Trump came out and was like, fuck you, Massey. I'm going to replace you. And then everybody divided. And they're like, Massey for president.
I got an even dumber question. What money does Doge need? Can't Elon just scan through everybody's
With the
sort of
computer
financing
click?
with his AI stuff without getting paid for it for a month?
Or 6 months. I don't know.
I think that really would be the ultimate "the emperor has no clothes" moment, is if they just, all right, shut the government down for a year, let's say 2, and just see what can happen when government actually shuts down. It might be like taking away the Department of Education, and they're just like, I don't notice a difference.
But doesn't the military become involved? And then we're in what's the word called? When the military takes over and you have no rights because
Martial law?
There you go, martial law.
Over what? Not if the government shuts down.
Isn't
I
the
mean, they could,
government different from?
in theory, they're not supposed to, because that would be using all sorts of government resources. But that would be federal, right? Like if the federal government decides to take over, that sounds like something that would happen, even though that's not usually the spirit of the concept of the government shutting down.
Isn't that like the misnomer of like the government shutting down, is they always try to scare people with it. Like, you're not going to get your military pay, or you're not going to get your social security, but that's already included in the bill before. Like, it has nothing to do with that. I don't know. It all seems like
We're gonna
fucking,
shut down the national parks.
yeah. It's like they try to scare, like,
Like,
what?
what are you gonna turn off the trees?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Someone
That's
hits
what
a
it feels
switch
like.
and the park just like dies immediately. I don't understand the concept of that.
That's what all the laws and all the taxes and all the things, I'm just
You're
like,
not gonna arrest me for smoking a bowl in the Grand Canyon? Okay.
oh yeah, oh no, you don't have enough people to police they'll be like, so we don't have enough people to police everything, but we do have enough satellites. And you were talking about, like, we all kind of, once they figure out our fingerprint. And an interesting thing with iWatches or even phones is it's a pedometer. So it knows your step. And the thing that we have that is our most unique thing that we would never guess is our gait. Like, the way we walk is so precise to just us. Like, how we put pressure, how our hips sway, how everything. And they say once they can get your gait down, they can find you anywhere.
Yep, and your heat signature. Those 2 things are incredibly reliable, and it means that you can put on your little mask that makes it so that the camera can't see your face, and you can put on a trench coat if you want. You can put on a full on, Voltron Halloween costume, and they can still figure out roughly what your gait is, even with all these weird modifiers that you do to yourself, because after a certain period of time, you're going to have the same patterns that will emerge. So we're kind of screwed. And I think that might also be part of the reason to keep talking about cell phones and keep talking about all these other like technological ways, because really they could strip us all naked and remove all of our technology and still track us. Like, there's nothing that we can do about it now, because it's all happening from outside of us.
It's getting to the point where it's going genetically to the DNA part of us as humanity. Not only is it going to be there will be a lot of transhumanism, there's going to be a lot of play with DNA and adding things and taking things out. And I want this color, maybe pink eyes, maybe I can get purple eyes or yellow eyes or whatever. And like
This sounds like the crap.
DNA,
It's kind of cool.
I would think that's what it's leading towards. And if you really look into the World Economic Forum, they have like a whole
They
playbook.
made Layla do hers too. It was just like Pavlov's dog. That was
It's
a cool
going
one.
there. But wouldn't
Well,
that be cool?
CRISPR designer babies. I think it's crazy to think that Elon doesn't have a designer baby.
Of course he does. You kidding me? That's why he's got like the 20 kids in the oven now, right? Each one of them, he just tweaked the variable each time, and he's going to see how this batch comes out, and then based on which ones worked, then he'll probably have another batch of 20.
I want to show you guys this thing of BJ Penn, but I also saw Trump today. It seemed like Trump was babysitting little X today. Like, they were walking around. I want to find this video.
Really?
Yeah, it's like,
cute.
yeah, it was kind of cute that it was just like, what's Trump doing? But then there was a huge rocket launch in Florida that they shot up the astronauts to the new space station or whatever. I don't know, you guys, about the space station, but I did see the rocket, go up from here. Here it is. This is so fucking cute, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." It's rare in life when something makes my biological clock tick, but this was so cute to me. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up for you guys. Ding, ding, ding. Let me make sure it's not loud as the dickens. Okay. Like, look how stoked that little kid
How
is.
cute.
He looks like a little duckling.
A little homunculus.
But, like, he has no idea how crazy that life is.
That's just normal. That's just a Tuesday for this little dude.
That's cute, but I'm still not having any.
No, Layla, that didn't do it for you.
I mean, you have to also keep in mind that that is the Antichrist. So
Yeah, could be.
Ooh, the
Little X.
boogeyman.
what if that's what he's doing? He's gonna form an Antichrist, like Voltron style. He takes his 20 clone babies and he puts them all in a room and makes them fight to the death, and the one that emerges is the Antichrist.
What if we just a CRISPR baby, like he is a little CRISPR baby. We're all like, oh, he's so cute. And then I heard somebody in an X room today say the reason that you guys all feel that about him is because we've all grown up on that JFK with a JFK Jr. under the desk. Like we've all grown up with that image over and over again. So there's something about a president with like a little kid running around that we're like, oh, it's been like it like hits us in this nostalgic
I
thing.
don't think anyone would try and emotionally manipulate the whole country like that. That seems silly.
That is crazy. Have you guys seen what's going on with BJ Penn?
I don't even know who that is.
He used to be an amazing MMA fighter and a whole bunch of different he was one of the best ever at a period of time. And people don't know if it's like traumatic brain injury now or CTE now or if he's like going crazy, but he is filming his mom and then being like, this isn't my mom. They've replaced her with somebody else. And I'll show you these videos where his mom's just in the kitchen cooking and you almost like feel for her, but then then you're also like, what if?
Like
What
Eddie
if?
Bravo's there egging him on live.
Yeah, well then when you look up his family, like they're a really wealthy family in Hawaii and we know all these weird things going on in Hawaii, how they're trying to take the land from people and stuff. So it's just like anyways, but poor BJ Penn, he's whatever, but I'll let you guys see what you think of this.
What's up, Paul? Huh? Fuck you, cunt. Fuck you, what? You can only do this because you get the government behind you. Fuck you, like get crazy. Fuck you. This lady right here, look at her ass and legs. She's acting like my 79-year-old mother. But she's not my 79-year-old mother. And it's interesting when you Google Lorraine Abbey, our house pops up. Because this lady acts like Lorraine Inouye. So you Google Lorraine Abbey, and this house pops up, and then you look him, and then my mom's name starts popping up. She's trying to steal everything, and this is not my mother. And I'm putting this up because she's saying that she's gonna get an attorney and try to do something. She's trying to throw me out, and if I attack her, she'll try to do something, TRO or something else, but she's... Come on. Get off the road. Get off the road.
The part that
You. This lady right here, look at her ass and legs. She's acting
he's like,
this lady right here, look at her ass and legs.
look at her ass and legs. Like, look at her ass and legs. She's acting like my mom. But crazy, it makes me sad. Something's 90% going on, but or 99%. But the 1%, that's not his mom. Is just I was thinking of myself, like if Jules just pretended she was some like that wasn't I woke up tomorrow and she's like, hi honey, and it's not Jules. And I'm like, you're
What the
not
fuck?
Jules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like imagine, and then they're like, you're crazy. Like everyone around you starts acting like that's the person. This is not the person.
Yeah.
I feel like it does seem like
Hey mom, how's Woofy doing? You always gotta have those questions, and it's like my dog's name's not Woofy.
Speaking of weird people and their identities, Teddy Perkins, Michael
You have to
Jackson.
explain.
Teddy Perkins
Was he a
is Michael
musician?
Jackson. You have to
is
fucking
it the old white guy?
it's just you gotta see the face. You gotta see it.
You know what it is too, though, is that it's been somewhat normalized to do this to politicians and to do it to celebrities, like people that are huge and outside of our spheres. But at what point does it become strange? At what point do people start questioning if you're actually all there or not when you start accusing, for example, people in your own house of being clones? Or what if it were people in your own company or people in your own city? I think at a certain scale, it becomes acceptable. But when it gets down to a smaller scale, then it seems like you've got something else going on.
Dude,
I don't
he's a
think that's
master of
Michael Jackson
disguise.
of all.
I have
All
a
you gotta
video
do
I
to
need to
look like
post.
Michael Jackson that was just going to a plastic surgeon and say, fuck this whole thing up. And then you kind of have the same look, no? Like, I just want you to melt my nose away until it's almost gone.
Michael Jackson's nose was far smaller than that.
Michael Jackson wouldn't be seen in that nose.
No, he wouldn't.
He needed that Elizabeth Taylor nose.
You have to see, I have to post it. This video that I have is fascinating. And the many people that are popping up as what Michael Jackson would play as characters when he would dress up in disguise. It is a fascinating video. I haven't had time to post it, but I will.
Well, I don't believe Michael Jackson died. I think there's everything about his death that you can look up and see that it was faked his death. And I even think when they tried his doctor, that court case isn't real. So he's not even in a real courtroom. People are like, this is not the seal of California. I don't know what this seal is. So there's a lot of stuff
of him coming out of the ambulance walking out.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stuff about, and if you had money like Michael Jackson and knew people, Michael Jackson was supposed to be on one of the planes that hit the Twin Towers. And so if you knew how dangerous they were and you were about to leave Sony Music owning over 51% of the catalog, they not only wanted to kill you, they wanted to ruin your name so they could buy the songs from it. This is a real crazy stat. They bought all the music Michael Jackson owned for $625 million. That is
the Beatles.
Insane. Like just the Beatles alone would be worth billions. Just Britney Spears alone would be worth billions. Just Michael Jackson's catalog alone, just Elvis's catalog alone, just he owns all of them. And so it's like if you go through the music that Michael owns, the pop songs, the Motown, it's like holy shit.
People also need to pay attention to his children and the parties of his children, like their birthday parties and these weird characters that appear at their birthday parties that are just out of the blue, weird, don't really belong there. I'm telling you, Michael Jackson's still alive. Their children kind of code it in a way that he's still alive, but I guess he's doing this for a reason. I don't know the reason, but we'll find out, and I think it's ties to Princess Diana too. Don't know why, but I feel like it is. It's connected.
Well, at Wembley Stadium, Michael Jackson, when he went to Wembley Stadium to play, the Queen came in and told him not to play Dirty Diana. And then Diana came in and said, "Oh, I do hope you'll play that. That is my favorite song." So he only played it one time on the tour while he was there for her while she went and saw him in concert. And yeah.
This is a weird rabbit hole.
Version of him. This is Michael Trapson. Highly recommended it. He's got.
Now, do you know why I pulled you over today? Bro, that's what I've been trying to find. You must be 2 steps past stupid. Put your hands down. Hey, bro, put the gun down, man. Put your hands on the dash. Okay. Hey. Now, the reason why I pulled you over today, because you are suspected of voluntary engagement of decreased audio frequencies that's deliberately disturbing the hot street community. Man, you mean my music? Affirmative. Bruh, you seriously pull me over just to playing music?
Michael Trapsman. That's a character to lean into. Corey Feldman shouldn't be the only one doing it.
Is that appropriation or was that baton passed?
Did you see that this week?
I've seen him do it. No, is there a new one?
See what?
No, about the girl that she was running in the like relay race and she hit the other girl in the
Oh, yeah.
head. And
Yeah.
she's like, I did not hit her in the head.
Well, there is like new video that's showing how the girl that kind of went in front, the elbow hit the baton and it looked so the girl like kind of pulled back, and when she went down it looked like it hit her. It could have hit her, but like initially the elbow like kind of whacked into her and like she didn't see her kind of thing, and I guess she got pissed off and hit her.
She
That's
got
it, she did it.
they charged her.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it at first. I was like, she obviously did it. And then I saw it looks like it gets stuck in the other girl's armpit. And then she's like, I lost my balance. So when I went to like, wave my arm forward, it hit her. And I'm like, oh, it's so on the line, but you can see where it gets caught in her. I'll pull up the video
Yeah.
instead of us just
So maybe when
talking
you're
about it.
running that fast, you do lose balance when you're, part of your balance is being like interrupted.
Was this her own teammate?
I don't think so.
No, it was like another
They're versing each
teammate.
other. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, here it is. Perfect. Ding, ding, ding. Will
They should have a version of this like roller derby where you can hit other people with the baton. Oh, dude, come on. This is like a gangland takeout.
That angle looks like it. But these things lie to you sometimes.
This is like the Rodney King tape. Come on, bro.
But there's another angle of it. Layla's right. So we'll look at it from the other angle after. This is a takeout. This is a Rodney King tapes.
Rodney King tape if everyone were black and not just one guy.
Let's see. That's the same angle again. There is another angle. Is it this one? No.
Is this our generation's JFK?
I know. That's how bad it's gotten.
What was the white and blue dress? This is going to be a new white and blue dress thing.
No, because everybody thinks she hit this bitch. Me and Layla might be the only outliers right now.
Yeah, bro, come on.
Yeah, because I seen a close up of the other angles. There's like
I
two
know. I'm
other
trying
angles.
to find it. You're right, Layla.
Mm-hmm. There's like one from behind, and then there's one on the back side corner, like of it, and you could see where it kind of gets caught, and you don't see her hitting her from that angle. You could see the baton getting caught, and she lost balance, and she's like, she does that move, but it doesn't hit her. So I'm just like, what the fuck really happened? Did she hit her? Did she not? From that angle, yo, it looked like she fucking whacked her. Wapa.
Sefer Hayam's like, Bureau of Land Management. I think we need it. It's our responsibility to remind people of what those initials mean. So also, Pi Day.
Oh, I keep forgetting all about that. Yeah. Yep.
I just remembered when I saw Redheaded Libertarians, she makes a pie every Pi Day, and I was like, that's clever. I like that. Ladies should bring back that.
I kind of grew up hating Pi Day because it just meant that the math teacher felt like she was better than everyone that one day.
Listen, Riggs, innocent till proven guilty, okay? That's all I gotta say.
All right.
Innocent till proven guilty.
Oh shit!
God knows.
Who's them? Who you sticking up for?
Oh yeah, who's them? Like villains?
What are you eating, Layla?
Like she's the villain in this. Apparently,
what are you munching on?
She's the bad guy. Oh, pretzels.
If you can't share with the class, you at least have to tell us.
Is it loud? I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, It's
I got the munchies.
2:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it is what it is. I do too. I wish I had gummy bears. That's what I'd want
Ooh,
right
I
now.
can't eat those right now.
I'm gonna keep a
Um,
little stash of those little miniature black licorice pipes, and then just like pull one of those out every once in a while. I feel like it would be like a
I hate black
distinguished
licorice.
candy.
I love your pipe idea. I've been looking at pipes. I would smoke, like, have a nice puff of just put my pot in it, obviously, but I just love that. Nice.
And you can point at things, and when you're making a point, you can like drive it in like.
Yeah, especially
Very
if you're
demure.
talking to someone very demure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You should bring the cigarette holders, the thin, like 1920s, like cigarette. What are they
You should
called?
have the full case if you're gonna smoke, Layla. Like, you should take it out of the case and then
I
tap
have a
it.
couple of them.
You should tap it on the case and then put it in your holder, and then you should have one of those, 'cause all of our grandmas had Tatarian lighters. What were those big silver lighters? I still have my
Some are like compacts with like lipstick, makeup,
Yes, they have
powders for your
adrenochrome
snuff.
kits, like, for real. This was
Mhm.
let me see if I can find it. Antique.
I miss gadgets, like cool gadgets like that from the past.
Have you ever seen auto dice before? Like old school auto dice? It's like this little contraption about the size of a business card, and you just click it, and it has these wheels inside that spin, and then they show the face of two different dies. So instead of having dice on you, you would have this little mechanical object, but it's totally from that exact same Art Nouveau style area.
Hmm. So
Maybe I
cool.
can't find it. Oh, I couldn't find the walnut sauce case on Google. You failed me this time.
Walnut sauce case?
Yeah, there used to be this thing that was kinda easy to find, but they actually took a walnut and they cut it and then they lined it with silver to make it like a little case, and then that would be, like a little adrenochrome kit, and I used to be able to find it online with just, like, putting in the right words, like antique walnut case, and then now it just pulls up a whole bunch of walnut chests, but
Huh.
I
it
feel
used
like
to
you
be.
probably find it on Etsy. Someone's got to be, and if they're not, then maybe we need to move into that space. These new little walnut and
Little
adrenochrome
walnut
cases.
purses. Little walnut purses. So, yeah, that's all I know that's going on this week. And that's the week, unless there's anything about the Jews I'm missing. 'Cause that's the only thing.
Mermaids. I
Huh?
want to talk about dolphins, and I stumbled upon this. She's a TikToker. She works with dolphins, and apparently she's been training how to for these dolphins to speak, to train them slowly. So she's been like working on Mama because they call her Mama Dolphin, and she's starting to speak like mama, mama, mama. And it's like, is this something else that they're not wanting us to know about these dolphins, like that they are trainable to speak in certain words to us that we're not even aware of? Like for a dolphin to like speak back to you like that is very fascinating.
With the John C. Lilly thing, the whole thing that I understand why they started the experiment is because he was gonna learn Dolphinese. Like, he wasn't gonna teach the dolphins the language, he was gonna learn their language, and so then when the girl comes involved in it, I don't know her name, but when she gets involved in it, and Peter or Philip or whatever the dolphin is, and she, like, sleeps almost in this igloo, like, bed thing, so he can hear her heartbeat, there's only glass between them, so they're, like, together all the time, and, she would say her name, let's say it was Marine or something, and she would say it over and over again, and she said, "He worked so hard to finally make whatever sound he made in the water made an M in bubbles to her." It was like one of the things her story of the whole John C. Lilly thing is actually heartbreaking to me, and I feel like he gets all the credit somewhere, but he's actually kinda creepy, and he's one of these people that he was like this normal doctor wanting to study, and then he almost gets taken over by the entire LSD experiment, and then he starts injecting the LSD not just in her, but in the dolphins, and so then I think he's simultaneously running study she thinks she's involved in the study, but she's too being studied. So when the dolphin kills itself, it has nothing to do with John C. Lilly. It's because he stops the relationship between her and the dolphin. but it's like somewhere he's become the only one we talk about in it, but it's actually like she loved the dolphin and the dolphin loved her back. And then they made this whole thing, but I almost feel like they even put out the stories like they were like, it takes 2 hours to get the dolphin to the pool. Maybe you should just jerk it off real quick. And they sold that story to Hustler to shame her, to make the whole experiment about that all of a sudden.
Think about this too. There would be no Joe Rogan if there was no John C. Lilly.
How? The
Because
acid?
one of Joe Rogan's like big sort of catchphrases or tropes for the longest time was the isolation tank, and that he claims that it kind of formed the way that he thinks. So if you remove the isolation tank from all of Joe Rogan's upbringing, you don't really have the same Joe Rogan at the end of that. And John C. Lilly quite literally created this concept, the modern concept of what we consider an isolation tank, like submerging yourself or floating in this high salt content liquid. It's about body temperature, putting on all sorts of blockers of all extrasensory, and the ones that you can block enough outside sensory, then all of a sudden the inside stuff gets crazy. It's almost like, have you ever heard of that room? They can put you in this soundproof room that is so quiet that you start to hear your own heartbeat, and you start hearing your body make all these noises. And they say, and they are the people that run the room, because it's like a scientific experiment. So they take notes, and they say that most people can't spend more than a few minutes in this room without starting to feel like they're going crazy. And that's sort of John C. Lilly style research.
Yeah, they said there is something like a few minutes for real. Like even people that they're like, I can spend 3 minutes in there, no problem. But they're like, I can hear my veins run. Like all of a sudden when it gets so quiet, it's like to a point where it makes them like, I gotta get out. Because I spent a lot of time in float tanks. There was a period when I was welding that I would just being in the same position for like 12 hours a day. There was something about laying and stretching. So it was just like a real natural thing that I built in, where I would do it like 3 and 4 times a week sometimes, and always for an hour and a half at a pop. And so I think there is definitely something to it, like laying in the tank, how quickly you get to meditation. And I remember I brought enough friends, like a drug that I love, that I'm like, you have to try it. You have to, I would pay for your first float. Come on, let's go. And I would tell everyone like, the only part that really bothers me is when I can hear the engine or like the filter of the float tank turn on. And it always startles me for a second, because it sounds like if I were laying in the ocean and a big snake went underneath me and moved the sand.
Ooh.
And all my friends were like, there isn't a pump that turns on, Chaney. And it was like, oh, because it happened to me every single time at around like the same mark, where it was just like this, and I could hear all this, and it had nothing to do with. And I've had friends that have gone and floated where they're completely sober people. They don't drink, they don't do drugs, they don't do anything. And they kind of wanted to like, I want to see something, I want to trip, I want to do this, but I'm never going to do a drug. And I'd be like, let's try a float tank. And then some of the stuff that in the experiences they had in the float tanks were pretty mind-blowing.
Rest in peace, man. That's terrible.
Well,
I mean, that's kind of like going back into one of those amniotic sacs, right? That's sort of what you're replicating in one of these sensory deprivation tanks.
Lots of tornadoes, apparently.
where I feel like there's a lot of tornadoes going through Abbie's neck of the woods.
Really?
Let me
I know
see.
that we're gonna catch some storms tomorrow night.
You won't
I
catch
know
these
this storm-
hands. Sorry.
It's like weird weather activity. And you know what's interesting? A news station reported these weird radar images in the clouds they're like, what are these? Scientists are fascinated in what these patterns are. It's like, what the fuck? And the next thing you show a picture of the Nexrad towers. It's like a tower with a white bubble on it. Those are fucking Nexrad towers. Those are the things that cause those ripples in the fucking sky. So it's like, what are those things? And then they show you the thing that causes those ripples.
I've never heard of that before. A
If you guys
Nexrad tower?
YouTube or anything. My favorite place to get weather, I'm going to shout out this guy. Since I already played the commercial and I might get in trouble on YouTube, I'm like, let's go all the way. If you guys check out Max Velocity, his breakdowns of the weather are awesome. And so I just want to see where this is right now because I feel like,
Damn.
yeah, that's
That's
all
bad,
that
yeah.
purple's twister weather.
Purple and red.
So tornado
pop-
watch.
those
It looks
all
like
those.
Arizona, Woodruff, Arizona, severe thunderstorm warning. Anyway, so shout out to that guy. And I hope everyone's safe if you're
Yeah.
watching. Bink.
That's wild.
Look at Tom is like, I'm just gonna
Do the
see what I can get away with today on YouTube.
dab.
Oh my gosh. There's a link between Jack Parsons, NASA, and the JPL, Lily, and the CIA, plus the whole LSD push with the clue of the submarine base Lily had in St. Thomas. And then you think of how close St. Thomas is to St. Martin, St. Bart's, all in the Virgin Islands, which is also right there by, Little St. James and all those submarine ports. I think the Bidens actually have a submarine dock they own on their island as well. And it's like right across the waterway from Little St. James. But that is curious because if you're, as much as we talk about space, and I always thought space whales was a very interesting conspiracy. So then you're like, people are eating mermaids. Would it be any better if they were eating dolphin?
Or whale.
Yeah, or whale for that matter. Yeah, doesn't
Don't
it seem
people
like a
eat
very
whale in Alaska?
well? I mean, I would
They
be able
collect their meat.
oil.
fat.
All the fat. It was probably the first tallow.
I'm
Probably
on
whale.
that.
We need to bring back that whale tallow, guys. That's where the money's at.
I'm on that
Sperm, too.
TikTok algorithm where I'm on a Eskimo timeline where they show how they harvest food and how they harvest whale meat and how they eat it raw in a certain way because it's such a delicacy. But it's
And
like apparently,
walrus.
yeah, I don't know if it tastes good or not, but apparently it tastes good to them.
I mean, whale sperm is a delicacy in certain Asian countries.
What does Summer talk about? The vomit is the most expensive.
It's what they use in perfume. Sperm
Yeah,
whale vomit.
whale oil.
Isn't it?
equals
It's called like
perfume.
ambrosia or something
Yeah.
that sounds like that.
Yeah.
Ambrosia.
Sperm whale vomit. I had to say it in Summer's
What?
name to hear it.
There's a restaurant that I applied to called Ambrosia.
And it means sperm whale vomit.
I know the
Wow.
word's not ambrosia. Just it reminds
You know
me
what?
of the word
Let's see.
ambrosia, though.
It's something like that though. Sperm whale.
It sounds nice. It doesn't sound like whale vomit.
Mm.
Vomit. It is whale vomit. Ambergris. Ambergris. I'm going to pull it up and you guys can read it better
Excuse
than me. Ambergris. Ambergris. When you say anything too many times and it's like that doesn't sound like a word. Look at whale vomit.
Ambergris.
Ambergris.
And it's used in the finest perfumes. Sperm whale vomit. But
Yeah, girl.
this is like a real thing to perfumers. They say if you open up like an old bottle of perfume from like the 1930s or 1940s, it's not at all, even if it's like Chanel No. 5, it's not Chanel No. 5.
No.
Like everything
Totally
has changed. That everything we know that they used to do is not the same thing. So we have no idea what kind of alchemy they were putting
I'll
on
tell
themselves.
you. Okay. You know what you could do nowadays and see and test with your own devices if you have them? Radiation monitors. Take those strips that you spray and test out the testers, spritz it and put the radiation monitor right by that perfume and you're going to see how much radiation and toxicity comes
It's
out
not
of
the
that.
same. It used to be stuff that like probably
Horrible.
Yeah, it used to probably magnify your essence, and now it probably like totally
Disrupts.
blocks the pheromones. Like every guy is just like, gosh, I just have the softest dick around this broad, and it's
Mhm.
just totally you have no whale vomit in your perfume anymore.
And endocrine disruptors or something like that. And it's just horrible. Horrible.
Like also, your olfactory sense is the closest link that we got to memory. So the more that you bombard it with all of these different overpowering smells, it can actually mess with your memories.
Hmm.
I have another thought too that I was wondering just from the vid of it all for anyone that lost sense of taste and smell. Because a lot of people I know that lost it, they are like, I don't feel like I ever got it all the way back. And there's certain things in my life that like certain meats to me just smell like my dog shit now. Like anytime my dog shits, it just has that same smell of certain meats to me.
Well,
And
like
I'm
in a good way or a bad way. Like in that now when you smell dog shit, you're like, meat. Or now when you smell meat, you're like, ew, gross.
they
Dog
both
shit.
kind of it's like dog shit doesn't gross me. Like the smell of it isn't like shitty like it used to be, but the smell of meat isn't appetizing like it used to be. It's just like there's a faint undertone that I notice that it makes me like if the, you know how people always talk about a zombie apocalypse in that
Yeah.
kind of way. Like, yeah, like at what point of like humanity? Because you know, they try to get us to eat our shit. China is like, look at this shit burger we invented yesterday, you know, every time that it just makes me like, could some part like your dog's in the backyard and they're like, look at my dog's just eating his shit again. And everyone's like, your dog, something's wrong with your dog. Like he's lacking this nutrient.
He's training to be a spaceman.
Yeah, he's training to grow his own potatoes. It makes me like, am I lacking a nutrient or what did they take from that I didn't get back? Or is something more precise? Sometimes I'm like, is my smell more keen than it used to be? So it's not blanket like that's a shit smell. And I'm like picking out these undertones. I don't know. It's like, this is everything's a conspiracy in my head. I just can't, nothing's normal. I'm like, this is interesting.
There's another conspiracy that I fell upon. I don't know if it's true, but apparently there's video of, I think it's Thailand or Vietnam, one or the other, of this, I believe he's a black man who was buried. He was dead, okay? And he rose from the dead in zombie-like state. It is a weird, interesting video, but they have this man in a glass room. Like the one side of the room is just like a clear glass, and then on the opposite side is a door and two walls and a bed. And it's a very interesting video because the skin on this guy is just like, it just doesn't look normal, and the way that he's acting wasn't normal. But it's a fascinating little thing that happened apparently on that part of the world, that he legit came
It
back
sounds
from the
like
dead,
Serpent in the Rainbow.
resurrected.
I don't know if you ever heard of Serpent in the Rainbow. It was a book about, I want to say like a Yale professor that claimed the same thing, that he actually saw a real world zombie where he saw the guy living, he saw him die, and then he saw him come back out of the ground and then turn into kind of like an indentured servitude zombie.
Yeah, like they're not quite there.
Huh.
Yeah, and this is a phenomena. Like a lot of people document this happening throughout the world. People being buried dead, and all of a sudden they're alive. And it's like, what the fuck? This is not the first time that it
Isn't that
happened.
the whole thing is that they in Europe, it used to be a law that if they buried you, they had to put like a tube with a string and a bell above ground because it happened so frequently that people were buried alive that they had to put a bell. So if you woke up after you were buried, you could ring the bell.
What if your bell's broken? That would suck.
That would so suck. Or the string was just knotted. So it's
Yeah.
just like,
Holy shit. Just in case you die and you wake up, here's a string in your coffin. This is where it'll be. Just find it, feel for it, and pull on the string. And you pull on the string, and the whole string comes down, and you're fucked.
or we're
You pull it in the, just like trying to start a lawnmower and just like the string breaks.
And you're
and
like, fuck, there's the other end.
or what about if we're in the like we're just like let's go to the cemetery and let's smoke a joint and then we're sitting in there and then a bell starts ringing. Panic. We're like, what the fuck? We're like we just start digging with our hands.
It's interesting because I don't know if this is from the Hadith. I have to like check this out or not. But they say apparently, like when Muslim people are being buried, when they read verses from the Quran, you can actually hear like the body kind of like boom, like hit on the coffin, and like you could hear it. Apparently, don't quote me, but this is something I was told by people. So like I hate doing that, repeating the he said, she said, but this is what they've told us. Not just me, many people
This
in our culture.
the yogis, they can go into such deep meditation and people think they're dead. And this is something that when Thomas was talking about the homunculus earlier, there's things about people that will meditate for such a long time that before they get to this point of being able to meditate such a long time, they start making friends almost like spiritually with an animal around, and it becomes, I think it's called your gunga or something. So
Mm,
a black snake might curl up in your lap, or a rat might sit on your knee, or a cat might come and lay by your side, or a tiger might lay at your back. Like some animal, every time you meditate, will show up and it's there to guard your vessel while your spirit's gone.
mm.
And so in a way, it sounded just like the homunculus almost when Thomas was describing it, like somewhere like this soulless vessel, or it's not that
You're
these animal.
familiar.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh, these people just decided instead of like having, oh, I'm meditating and to get in touch with my familiar in that way, I'll just make my familiar.
Mm,
Well, it's interesting to me because I would have figured until reading some of that if you had a leopard or you had a homunculus, that they were there to protect your body from, I don't know, an assassin or a thief or a murderer in the physical world. But no, the homunculus or the spirit animal is actually there to protect your body from some sort of astral entities. They're not there to protect you from other people in the real world.
And that's kind of how people, yeah, it's the opposite for the animal thing, I guess, would be like it's just there to protect your flesh. And
I don't
like
know. I mean, the same way that like cats and dogs will know if someone's gonna die or not. Maybe they actually can see that cord if in a simplistic way of talking about it.
maybe I know, or maybe even like they're drawn to that cord, or one animal's called to that cord. Like it's their call, like scent, like they smell it in a way. Like the people are like, I can smell death.
But if you're a dog and like Jeffrey Epstein has your cord somehow,
so you're saying that
you can't decide not to.
so you guys are saying that like according to like Chinese astrology, those that represent you might be like attached to you maybe? So like if mine were a dragon, like the dragon would be my like familiar?
I'll tell you something kind of funny. So I went to an ashram, and y'all, I was already like, I was so going through it. Like we were probably on like right before lockdowns, but I was always already getting kind of spiritual and whatever. And I went to this ashram and they were like, can we give you a tour of the ashram? I was like, sure thing. And it was all these like people walking around in red and being all quiet and blah, blah, blah. And they were going through their like kind of hierarchy of the ashram. And, they were like, oh, let's say the head of the ashram is like Ja. And they're like, this is Ja's seat, and this is Ja's studio, and this is Ja's. And like we walk out onto the porch, and I'm standing on this tile mat, and it has this black snake across it. And they're like, this is Ja's Gunga, the black snake. And as I'm standing on this mat, a black snake crawls out of the woods and like crawls across where it's like right tip of my feet, and then the snake laying on the tile. And all the people at this ashram, they all look at me. And I thought in that moment, y'all, I can take over this whole place.
Yeah.
Like immediately
your
my head didn't
master.
think, my head was not like, oh, the magic of the ashram. I just thought, this snake wants me to take over this whole place.
There's something with the snake, the dragon.
It's so funny.
And that's how religions legitimately start.
That
Someone's
is,
just in the right spot at the right time, and they're like, "Oh, I can make this happen for me."
yeah. And it's like, it would be, and then when I retell the story, I'm like, it was a flash. I had a vision. A
Yeah.
snake crawled across my thing, and I just have to tell the story with a little bit of, but then after like a year, I no longer tell the story. Thomas or Layla become the only tellers of the story, and I don't speak anymore. Very few people can get to me, and they're the money man. Like this is how all cults eventually work. If you ever look at it, the person that's like the top looking of the cult isn't necessarily the money man behind the cult, but they're usually like two. It's It's like fucking so stupid. I'm like, this is what you guys, and thank you for watching the show, because after 5 years of cult status, then we can get our own church.
Yeah.
And
Also, people, we're not CIA ops. I wanted to get that clear.
Anymore.
well, this is my huge thing with a church, is that I just want to baptize you. So when I baptize you, you become a church and you don't have to pay taxes either.
But also,
This
we
is the
know
goal.
Mormon magic, so we don't even need your permission to baptize you. We can do it even without your consent.
Yeah, we baptize the world. Why they like if you sleep baptized, they don't pay taxes anymore. The sleepers don't pay taxes. That'll be the name of our religion. We
The
believe in sleep.
sleepers.
We believe in sleep over here.
Ironically, we're still awake and it's almost 3 a.m.
Yeah. The sleep. That'll just be the name of our religion. We'll figure it out. We'll work on marketing.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there right now. It's really just to not pay taxes. It's the whole way out. It's my Scientology goal. I'm like, harassing the IRS so much that they eventually are like, fine, you don't have to pay taxes. That is the only good thing about Scientology that you have to big up them for.
See, this is honestly, this might be an interesting conversation. That I remember that documentary that made a really good point about Scientology, that what defines a religion is whether or not the IRS is willing to give you tax exemption. And if the IRS is willing to say, fine, we won't collect, and that's really the hallmark of a religion. What happens if they shut the IRS down? Does it become easier to create religions? Right? Because that is sort of the real delineation, whether you made something up and you're being silly versus it's legitimate, is whether or not you have tax exemption. But what if everyone's tax exempt?
Then the same as like the Bank of Layla, you are the Church of Layla.
Right? Who's to say that you aren't? The only
I am
thing
the
that would
temple.
stop you is whether or not you had to pay taxes.
I am the temple.
It's already, you got to wait for the IRS to get shut down first. You
I
might
like
actually
that.
be committing like financial fraud by saying that right
I
now.
like that.
I know, it's so weird, the IRS. All these little places, some of the places that I've lived in my life, and I'm so excited for servers not to pay taxes anymore. Anyone that makes, any blank not pay taxes. But every time I think about it, I'm like, no one. Like, no one should pay taxes.
No.
Like I saw this meme and it was like over 50% of people aren't paying their taxes, and then it has like the Bon Jovi, oh, we're halfway there. Whoa. The opposite. I was like, the internet never fails. It's so awesome. Well, do you guys have anything else to chit chat about before we fly out of here?
No, just that I love doing this show with you guys. I love the chat. This is awesome. I look forward to it. It literally gets me out of bed, or like my alarm goes off, because I usually try and take like a power nap before these. The alarm goes off and I'm like, I could just go back to sleep. But I'm excited to wake up in the middle of the night and continue the party. So thank you guys.
No,
This would
thank
have been
you.
a little bit how it was though, like in ancient times. I think there would have been a fire going, and I think we all would have, like, the idea of a 9 to 5 is bullshit. And I think it would have been very normal to get up in the middle of the night, get a little something to drink, get a little something to eat, sit around the fire, have a little conversation, and go back to bed. Like, I think people would have gone to sleep at like 9, woke up at like 2 or 3, stayed up for like 45 minutes or an hour, and then slept for another few hours.
Yeah.
And so it would have been
That's how they
normal
did
to
it back in the
commune.
day.
I know, and it must have been a natural thing, because look how quickly bars took off.
Yeah.
They must have
Like
been like,
everyone,
we cannot have these
midday?
witches and wizards meeting at fucking night. We got to mix alcohol in it so they don't do magic. Like for real, they were like, we got to put these spirits involved so they're not talking about all these other ideas.
Yeah, like my mom would tell me back in the day, like they'd get up like 4 o'clock in the morning, feed their stock and like tend to the fucking gardens and the vegetables and everything like that. And then breakfast, have a little break, and then midday, 12 o'clock noon, they would all take a nap, the whole village. They would all be asleep. and then he'd wake up like 3-4 o'clock and then be outside just having coffee, kids playing outside and just resting for the rest of the day, then take a nap and then get up at like midnight, feed the livestock, go back to bed. And then it's like a cycle that they all had, but it was like, naps here, naps there, not like a full day of work, exhaust yourself to fucking death and then take a 5-hour nap, sleep, whatever, and then wake up and do it all over again. It's not rhythmic. There's no rhythm to it.
9 to
You need
5, you're
rhythm.
on notice.
Yeah,
9 to
fucking on
5s.
notice, bro.
It's so weird. It's such a like fine line. We were talking about it before we came on of like I need stuff done with my time, but I have this other part of where I'm at right now. It's like I don't have a workspace. I don't have it doesn't feel like I can spread out all my creative stuff to be creative when I want to be creative, and I'm kind of a person that I need all my projects out, and when I feel like my projects I work on them. I can't put away my project when I'm done and then have to get it out when I need it out. Like sometimes just the thought of getting it out, the inspiration's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm a grown up. I want to have all my stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I need to be re-inspired in life.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking of moving maybe, which is so crazy off the Atlantic seaboard, Thomas. I might be a little, well, you're kind of east of Orlando.
No, I'm dead
Do it,
center. I'm
do it.
proper downtown Orlando.
Oh, well, I was thinking of maybe like the Tampa move. So it
Do
won't be so
do
much
it.
closer, but
Check Clearwater too.
yeah, I think St. Pete right now is in
Scientology
my
center. I kind of like Chaney in the heart of Scientology, which
Mm,
would be Clearwater.
yeah.
it won't be the first time I've literally taken off high heels and ran.
Forwards
Like
to the church, I assume.
no, I probably told you guys about the time I was so naive and I was just like a young girl in Hollywood looking for a job. And I really, because my mom had poop papers forever, and I saw the Dianetics commercial just the same way as I saw Pure Moods. Like I just thought it was yoga. I didn't
Uh,
think anything about it. And so driving down, I think it's Sunset Boulevard, they have a big, huge Scientology church. And on the sign it said now hiring. And so every day dropping off resumes and doing whatever, I was like, well, they have a big now hiring sign on it.
mm,
Let me see what the yoga studio is all about. And then I went inside and there was probably like 6 people at the job application, which looking back, I was just going clear and didn't know it. I was like filling out this huge long thing that you would have no idea. And for whatever reason, they sent 4 people out of the room and they kept me and this black woman and they were like, "Do you guys know what Scientology is?" And both of us were like, "No." And they were like, "Okay, we'll take this other test." And this test was a little more invasive where I was like, it felt like, "How many times have you done drugs? How many times have you had gay thought? How many times have you?" It was like so like detailed where you wanted to be honest, but not too. It was really weird. And so, I filled out this thing and then they're like, "Okay, and now we're going to take you to the movie studio." And we're like, "All right." And I'm sure this lady was thinking the same thing. So we sat in this chair. Dude, now all the movie studios are like, or all the movie theaters are like this. But back then, I'd never seen, it was like a full IMAX experience, like the speakers in my ears and the whole, like, it didn't exist yet. It was like they had it first. And so we sat in this movie studio and then it started and it was like a silhouette of Ron L. Hubbard and like the earth exploding and like all this stuff like sci-fi, like it looked like expensive special effects. And then it was a cross and then it backed out and I was like, that's the building I'm in right now. I didn't know there was a cross on it. Like,
mm.
dude, it was like, I was like, I'm in like a horror movie. And like I'm just a young Southern, like, oh my gosh, I'm in a cult. How did this happen? And so I look at the lady, I touch her arm and I'm like, good luck with the job. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And she's like, girl, you ain't leaving me. And I was like, okay, well, let's just go. And so we stood up to walk out of the studio. And as we were walking out, because the studio was kind of close to the main exit or like main entrance exit that we walked in from, this guy who totally was like Christopher Walken, like View to a Kill, like hair, like long slicked back hair. And he's like, don't you want your paperwork back? And I put so much shit on this paperwork. You know, you're filling out a job application. So you put so much stuff that I'm thinking this creepy cult has all my information. Yeah, I do want my paperwork back. And I looked, that black lady was already out the door. Like now I was alone inside the cult. And so then he's like, okay, follow me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm walking behind Christopher Walken. And everything was like primary colors and shapes, circles, squares, triangles, and like it felt like you were in a preschool. It was very strange. But all the people just had white, black, gray on. Like it was a uniform. So there was no colors except for these like weird shapes and type things. And then all the door handles had like gold door handles that locked. And he just walked me into a labyrinth of this building, down hallways, upstairs, down hallways. Now I have no idea where I am. And he opens this door and he's like, she's going to get her paperwork back. And he's like, if you want to have a seat right here. And then he goes into this like room with this lady and they're like, about, I'm like, what is going on? And I look over and there's a plexiglass window and there's like, however far as my eye can see, everybody just reading, like people all at one desk, one chair, one person just reading. And it looked like a library. And I was like, what the fuck? And so the door was shutting. And so I took off one of my shoes and I threw it at the door like Indiana Jones. And it like stopped the door from shutting all the way. And I took off my other shoe and I ran from there. Like I'm sure somewhere in this, I always think about this. Somebody work at Scientology, Danny Masterson and Tom Cruise are fucking sitting there laughing, watching me run. And then I cried all the way from Scientology building thinking like, I got to get out of Los Angeles. This is a nightmare. But yeah, so I never got my paperwork back or anything. And I like ran through the parking lot, ran down a stairwell, like just.
I've never heard this story before. I would absolutely have remembered it.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
Yeah, so this was my like fucking biggest fear in Los Angeles was that I almost got wrapped up in Scientology
So maybe not
unintentionally.
Clearwater.
Yeah. Well, now it's time.
Well, you don't have to sign up again. They've already got all your information.
Yeah. And I mean, it's probably, who knows how true. It would be so funny to relook at what I wrote then because it's all a lie. It's like the same way as you talk about a job. Like, do I tell this place I'm gay? I thought I kissed a girl once in college.
I kissed a girl.
Anyway,
Let's just check some boxes.
Scientology.com. That's so funny. Anyways, anything else you guys going on this week?
Oh, maybe on Monday I'm gonna do my 100th episode live stream. I'm thinking about doing a 6-hour live stream. You guys are absolutely invited if you're around. I took the day off work and everything to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. 100th episode.
Yeah, Monday noon
time?
to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Noon to 6 p.m.
You can pop in, you can pop out. I'm going to be going over sort of top 10 conspiracies. You can't just limit it to 10, but it'll be the top 10 that I picked out. And whoever joins at whatever time in like 40-minute blocks, maybe you're talking about one, maybe you're talking about the other. I'm not going to mention what they are so they can kind of be a surprise.
All right. Maybe you're talking about 9/11. Maybe you're talking about JFK. Maybe you're talking about
this, maybe that. Who knows?
I don't know if it's those. You're like, bitch, don't ruin my show. All right, awesome. Well, you guys make sure you tune into Thomas's 100th episode. I started running again this week. That's what else I've done. I'm gonna change it all at once, but I actually feel really good. So I'm telling everybody. So I usually hold myself accountable when I tell somebody I'm doing something. I know it like other people work all in different ways, but usually, so we'll see if I've reached my goal. I'm just trying to 5K first. We'll see if I can hit 5K goal. I just haven't ran since before I was sick. So it's like a whole, I used to enjoy it. I used to be able to get lost in it, but now I'm like, oof, this is heavy. This is a heavy body to carry on a run. Anyway, so yeah. Shout out to you guys. We love you so much. Thank you for listening.
Love ya.
Layla, nothing?
Nah, same old, same old.
All right. Well, make sure you turn it down a little because Juliette Lewis, I still haven't adjusted that, but I will. I'll get
One
on
day.
it. But I want to, we're going to redo the whole intro. So I have some big plans for the intro
Nice.
and it's going to be fun. Noise. So we love you guys. Make sure you turn it down a little and we will see you very soon. We hope you have an awesome week. Okay. Bye-bye.
Can you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
Here comes Santa. Here comes the world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracy, sex, clones, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. The world we used to think we knew is constantly exposing woo. Our possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, MAGA, mystics, entertaining cunnilinguist good guys. The forum of the quorum needs a secretive society to advance our philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Conspiracy, sex, clones, Jamaicans, it's okay to change your thinking. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.